This is the offline whale hunter lead system. It's pretty simple. It's not going to take long for me to show you. I also want to thank all the support comments that in the post and everything that came in. I'm very moved by the comments we got about the interview. I'm glad people enjoyed it and got something useful from it. So let's move on. And so you got a great interview, great. Gave you some good ideas, got you a little excited. Let me show you how simple it is to generate leads, contact people, and generate a conversation. You know, there's a lot of going around about, you know, nobody wants to talk to anybody and send them to a webinar and this and that. We do those things, but the majority of business comes from simply calling people up, finding out what they need, making an offer, and them saying yes, giving them some good risk reversal. All it takes is good marketing, some good offer with good risk reversal, and some continuity, and you can build your monthly income up very nicely. So I'm going to make this quick. I don't want to waste your time, and there's not really any need to make it all drawn out. So the lead system is really what we do. There's lead capture software, there's Google, and there's mailing lists. These are the three things that we use here, and it's the only thing we use. We get referrals as well, but as far as actively grabbing leads, this is all we do. And then once the process that we go through is lead scraping, like I just mentioned, and then mailing a letter to the mailing addresses, or you know, initially sending an email and doing some outbound phone calls as well. And I'll talk about that and show you the scripts we use. It's real simple. It's really easy stuff. When you see what I'm doing, you're going to see that it's really easy stuff. You know, you got an outbound script to call someone, introduce yourself. You should have an outbound voicemail plan. We're not leaving as many voicemails as we should. We do look at voicemails as an opportunity to leave a commercial on the voicemail, so that when they hear it, I want it to literally be like a recording. I don't usually say, hey, this is Jim, you know, just calling because, you know, I wanted to see if whatever, or I'm following up with. It's usually you're listening to that voicemail, and it's, we've got 3 ways to grow your business. 2 of them are brain dead simple. You can do them yourself. And the third, you need to know a little more information about, but your competition is probably using it. If you want us to explain this a little more, call me at 123-456. So it's an opportunity to leave a commercial. Then we give, you know, free white paper, free report, free ebook, free recording, free something, as my old business used to call it, a tchotchke, for something free to give away. And then after we give something away, a follow-up, and then a strategy session and a close. And this order, you know, it gets jumbled up sometimes. We'll send out a bunch of emails, and some people will reply. We'll call them up, and they'll go straight to strategy session. From time to time, somebody says, you know what, I've been looking for someone forever. I'm glad you guys called. I'd love to give you a try. And we're risk-free, risk reversal, so we're usually, we can sign someone up. So sometimes it's a one-call close. Oftentimes it's follow-up. Sometimes it's email, then we call and we can't close them. We send them a white paper, then we call them back, and then it's a strategy session. But this is, you got to have a plan. You know, same thing with actual scripts. We use scripts as guidelines. They're not meant to be done exactly the same. That's a little different when you're telemarketing and you're doing upsells and you're training, you know, $8 an hour people to take orders. They got to be very strict with what you want them to say. I know, because I was in television for 10 years and selling through television, and we worked with literally thousands of telemarketers and scripts, and so you got to be very structured there. Not so here. And so so option 1, the lead software. There's all kinds available. If you already have one, use it. I use LeadNova. I like it because they're constantly updating it. I've used at least a half dozen. They all do the same for the most part, but I have found LeadNova to be the best because of the constant updates. Now sometimes we just use Google. So we'll have a link to LeadNova. It's not my product, but it is the product that I use. I'll show you a screen print here. Actually, let's see if we can go over to it for a moment. So here's LeadNova, and you can see you can put a dentist in, and I can put in a zip code, which is the way we like to do things. I think I got to click name search and postcodes, but if we do a search, you see it starts bringing them up, and if I let it keep going, I think it stops at 200 leads. I'd have to go into all the how to do. I don't want to go. This isn't a tutorial about how to use LeadNova, but you see very rapidly, I just scroll, I've got 200 leads just like that. Alright, so now if we look here, I've got 200 leads. You can see Best Dental, Dental Care for Kids, Mark Hoffmeister, Vulcan Associates, Bartlett Dental. The reason I'm pointing these out, I'll show you a little bit how we get these in Google as well. So we can get this real easy. We can export them and import them into something else. It's real simple. A lot of times what we do is my assistant just clicks on these websites and goes straight to their website. You know, you see and here's some phone numbers for when we follow up. And then you see emails, and you see some of these emails are crazy. You know, there's the webmaster one. You know, that's guys. You know, they're not doing too good with their website. Some of them have none. URL admin. You know, so we also see whether it's mobile optimized, good information for our pitch, and if we want to have some names, we've got some names over here, and that's it. You got 200 leads. You know, just like that. If you can't get a client out of 200 leads. When you're following up and targeting them, I'd be surprised. And so that's lead scraping software. Again, we'll have a link to this one. If you got one, use it. And so let's move on. Next is Google search, and this is the same as the lead software. It's just a little bit longer. You know, I think I've got. You can see I've got 60290, but I think I searched 60103 in the lead software. So I did that in Google, and I just simply grabbed the Google the Google Plus Places Business, you know, whatever they want to call it this month. I mentioned those names because there's Hoffmeister, there's Volk, there's Best Dental, there's Dental Care for Kids, and then here's their address. And so if I want my guy to just use Google today, he can go through, he can search, he can click, he can grab an email address, he can email out. It is that simple. We only shoot for 100 a day, and that's it. And so either way, you can see why the lead software, we do use Infusionsoft. We do use a spreadsheet as well, and a lot of Google Drive, where we keep spreadsheets right in Google Drive, and we'll add these leads there so that we don't get duplicates. And so that's how we get our other leads. Again, nothing scientific, folks. Nothing well, I guess nothing. You have to have a scientific degree. It's brain dead simple, actually. That's why I could pay $7 an hour to do this lead generation. All right, and then the third way is I do like to mail letters. It's really beyond the scope of this because direct mail could be another session, but it's pretty simple too. The consistency and follow-up is the deal in marketing. It's not fancy, but I will show you how we get further mailing lists. And so you can go to InfoUSA /mailing lists, and that's a source I've used for years. Well, let me show you what I've discovered a couple of years ago by just going through my library website. Okay, so here we are at my library website, and I discovered this a few years ago, but you do have to have a library card. But once you log in, I can go to online research. You see all these kind of databases. Now, by the way, I use the research services all the time to put together marketing documents for my clients and to get marketing information on stuff. All kinds of magazines, Super Search. I can go here and I can search on all kind of periodicals and other things. But for now, I'm going to go to online research, and I'm going to go to business and economy. And you see right here we've got A to Z databases, marketing data including 30 million businesses, and reference USA 10.5 million. Business magazines and journals. So there's lots of stuff in here, and you actually have access to them. So I go to A to Z databases, 30 million. If you saw down there was brand new databases I could market to. So I could say, give me 60103, but let's just go dentist. Update the count. We got 27. So there's 27 in that particular zip code. So you do a search, and there they are. All I do is download them, and oops, let me select some of them. Let me select them all, and I download, and that's it. And it's going to download in an Excel CSV. If I put it in a CSV file, I can upload the mailing list right to click to mail, which is where we have our postcards and letters, and we upload the mailing list, and we choose the mailing piece we want, and we click mail, and it goes out. And all of our postcards and mailers have two ways to we actually merge doctors' information in there, and we have a way they can call us or they can go to our website. Okay, so that's and by the way, you can get some email addresses, and some of those databases you got to pay for the email addresses, and that's why they give you the other information for free. It's that simple. So I would definitely check your local library and get that old library card is awfully valuable. And I mean, I've got 3 kids, so we're there at least once a week. So let's just talk about what we do after we get leads. You can see here, this is just a screen print from June 28th of just a small part of our, there is some personal information in here, so it's blocked out. And we're just sending them through Gmail. This is when we just collect our 100 email addresses and we just send them out, and that's it. And I'll let you know what those look like. So if we've called first and we've told them about our free report, then we send this email. You know, here's the report we talked about, is in the subject. You know, hi Nicole, I'm sending this report as agreed on our recent phone call on behalf of the local area marketing association. This is a free research report we're giving to local area businesses as a free service. No obligation, no charge, no catch, just a service to local businesses. The report is a study on how local, there's a misspelling there, local consumers select the business and professional practices they do business with. And we do a link to the report, and we have it in Google Docs. You may enjoy this free series of educational videos as well for local businesses, and we've got a URL with an opt-in where we just do recorded webinars, 2 or 3 of them, so they can see get educated. Now the reason these are blocked out is I've got Google Analytics in here, and we do mailings, coded mailings, and there's passwords to put in these things, and we can track our leads. And I don't know if 1,000 people or one is going to buy this thing, but I didn't want my analytics messed up. But all the free report is it's a 15 or 20 page report. I don't remember exactly how many pages, but it just talks about YouTube and LinkedIn, and there are reports you can buy. You could use your library, you could write one, and it's just something for free that warms them up. And the videos are simply videos talking about Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn or Pinterest or growing your business. Again, all areas that we've been working on for decades, not Facebook and some of that, but growing your business. So it's just a quickie, hour or less educational ones. And so that's what we do. But this is very easy to generate a lead and get people interested. Now we'll talk about the script. It's a little bit out of order. And so when they do reply to us, we give them a call. Whoops, let me go back. We do give them a call, and unless they reply to an email and say yes, send us something, we just simply send them the report like this. Or here's the research report. This research report reveals why your county consumers buy. And I'm sending this on behalf of the Marketing Association. We've got a free research report we're giving to businesses as a free service. No obligation, no charge, no catch, just a service to local businesses. With your permission, I'd like to email that report out to you. And the report is a study on how local county consumers select the business and professional practices they frequent, or we can mail it out to you. Or the easiest way to get it is go to this website. Or just reply and say send it to me, and we'll send it right out. If you want it mailed, include your mailing address. You see, this is a personal email, and we don't use an autoresponder. That's why they get delivered. And it's very non-threatening. It's a research report. And you got a sense that your competitors are going to get it. Because we're sending it, it's a service to local businesses. There's no obligation, no charge. It's pretty hard when it talks about a study on why your county consumers select the businesses and professional practices they frequent. It's hard to say no to that. And you see, now this is the cold email. This is when they haven't responded to anything else. Okay, then if they respond to a letter or a postcard or come to our website or respond back to and say, hey, send us something, here's the report that we sent. Okay, so these are a little bit out of order. This is a cold prospecting email. Now when we're calling, if they've said yes, I'm interested, hi Joe, I'm calling from ABC Company. I'm calling because you indicated you have an interest in increasing your business, and that happens to be what we do. The first thing we do is help small businesses capitalize on the latest advances in leveraging leveraging a changing and ever-growing social media presence on places like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, and others. Our goal is getting new customers or new patients. This helps you be ranked higher by the search engines and be found when today's customer is looking for you on their mobile devices in these social media places. This helps position you as an expert and the go-to business in your field. Very simple, very easy. If you don't do these services, you substitute them. It's still non-threatening. If you have any questions, if they do have any questions, sorry, I started reading the red part, but the red part is, if the appointment person is calling and they got questions, well, this is a high-level discussion, and the owner or the consultant, depending on how you're doing the calls, can answer any questions. I'm just supposed to lock you in on his calendar. He lives and dies by his calendar. So can we get you scheduled? I have a spot that opened today, later at 3 p.m. or tomorrow at 9 a.m. Or if there's no objection, you continue on. We don't sell our services and expertise during this initial strategy session. It's not with a salesperson. It's with a consultant. Of course, our consultants have the ability to sell. We don't have salespeople. We consult with businesses on the most advanced uses of marketing technology available today. And after having worked with around the world, from Austin to Australia and New York to New Zealand, our founder has settled in and only works with local business owners now who want to grow their business. And he's had clients all over the world, many that you would actually recognize immediately. Now, I'd like to schedule a meeting with you so that I can share our services and methods to see if this would be a fit for us both. Are you open to that? We listen. Do you have your calendar handy? You're trying to close them when you ask for the calendar, by the way. We need about 20 minutes. And if they still say no, then, well, Jim doesn't like us to give up that easily. He's kind of on a mission to help every business in the local area, especially in this down economy. And since this is a follow-up call that actually came from your office, maybe it wasn't you, but someone did reach out to us. That's the only way we talk to anybody. Can we send you out some free materials and information to help with your business or your practice, and then follow up after you get a chance to look at it? And of course, if they say yes, you ask for their email address. If you already have it, you can confirm it. And then thank you. I'll get this over to Jim right away, and you have a great day, Bob or John or whatever. If they still say no, you say, well, I know you have your reasons, but can I ask why not? And you wait for an answer, and that just helps us get feedback. All right, well, we'll take you off our calling list so as not to bother you. Goodbye. Or we can also say, well, would you like me to mail it to you? And if they still don't after that point, we say thank you very much, and we try to get a reason, and we move on. And that's it. It's a very simple approach, and let me just show you the numbers. So 500 prospects contacted a week. Now you see up top, virtual assistant. He's gonna $7 an hour, 5 days a week. Okay, so that's and it only takes an hour a day to do these. So it's only an hour a day, 5 hours a week. That's $35 to get your prospecting done. And he sends 100 a day. So that's 500 leads. We want to get one engagement. Now my engagements are $3,440 a month. Now once we do the strategy call that you've heard, we shoot for $3,440 a month to work with me. We have other packages and other services, but that's what I shoot for. So if I get one out of these 500 a week, that's $3,440 monthly. Again, if yours is $500 a month, it's $500 monthly. So now I've got a running total of $3,440 a month. That'd be $41,000 annually. If I get one the second week, you see I'm now making $68.80 a month, and that's $82,000 annually. So if I keep adding, by month 6, we're at $250,000 a month by just adding one client. And then I start adding 2 a week because you get better at it. And of course, some fall out, and you keep adding. But you can see at the end of a year, you can be up to $500,000 a year. Now you can bring on other people to help. Again, you cut this down, cut it in half. It's a couple $100,000. You cut it by a quarter. You're $100,000. It doesn't take that much. And so that's how we get the leads, both cold call, cold email, getting people to respond to mailers or whatever, or respond to the cold emails. And once they've asked us, what we do, how we follow up, how we call back, what we offer them, and then you can see here the actual numbers that are possible. I mean, these are hypothetical numbers for you. And so thanks for watching this. It's only been about 20 minutes, but I got to tell you, getting leads the right way, you see it's very simple. It's non-threatening. That's the key. If you do this, try to do this simple way and blast out, grab people's emails and blast them out, or import them into an autoresponder, and use some generic marketing sounding email. That's when this stuff doesn't work. But when you send personal emails and you send postcards and letters, this stuff works, and it's very easy as long as you're consistent. So thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll see you on one of the following follow-up webinars. Hi, this is Jim Fleck. Welcome to the deal-making system portion of Offline Whale Hunter. I'm going to review the $103,500 contract that you would have listened to if you got the advanced recording the sales call and analysis. So you should have listened to the advanced call. You should have went through the transcript. In there you'll see highlighted my notes as to what I'm trying to do when I'm closing the gentleman. Really, not really, well, of course we'll always be closing, right? I'm really educating him and really getting him to talk about the business and what he needs. But you should have done that first, and because in there you will see at the end of that call I list out all the things that he needs, and I've been jotting things down, and there was a few things that he had mentioned on a prior call we had that got cut short. It was really the sales call, but it got cut short. He had an emergency after about 15 minutes, and I asked him to send me some stuff, and he sent me some ads and flyers and newspaper ads and things like that. And so you'll hear me at the end of that call. I'll add those in as deliverables, and then you'll see here at the end of this session exactly how I calculate and come up with $103,500, and that's at my hourly rate of $1,720 in order to make have a goal of $1.5 million a year with just my consulting business. All right, so all right, let's see here. So let's go over the agreement. It's a 2-page agreement with attachments, and you'll see there's only 2 spots really on here 3 spots, I guess. There's the date, there's the client name, and then there's my business name, and we call them client, we call me consultant, so that everywhere else you can see all these spots. We can just say consultant, and we can say client, and so nothing really else has to change, and we always initial each page. That's it. So on this page, let's talk about scope of services listed in attachment A. So again, I don't have to change anything. Access to staff, hey, if I need something, let's do it in a timely manner, and vice versa. Payment services, they will be marked up in attachment B. Independent status, I'm a consultant, I don't work for you, and here's, you're going to allow me to do work my way, and that way I stay independent and you can't get hit up with getting around the employee laws. Complete agreement, this is everything. There's no verbal or written other agreements, but if we want to do more agreements, we can write them up for things like copywriting or business planning or reviewing, like in this case, his current window replacement business. Maybe he wants me to review some of that because he's going to continue doing that while we build his remodeling business. Liability is, I'm warning that I'm going to do what I say in here, but I'm not giving you a warranty on anything else. No other warranties, no other guarantees. Just fairly safe, fairly standard. Confidentiality, hey, I'll keep your secret information secret and you'll keep my secret information secret. Indemnification is, look, if somebody comes after us and wants to sue me, you're going to, and I haven't done anything wrong, just they're including me, you're going to indemnify us, saying we shouldn't be in any claim, and you're also going to defend us if it has to do with materials we provided. Additional services, kind of similar to the complete agreement, but if there are additional services or anything, we will write them up and do separate agreements. In other words, everything in our agreements here. And then page 2. What's above this usually, up here is company names, and then down here are just signatures. And so here is, you can't assign this contract to another company, and neither can I unless we agree. Any portion of this that maybe is wrong, like let's say we do agree that you can assign it, so we've changed this portion. That doesn't mean anything else in here is unenforceable. I guess in this case, really that would cover under waiver. If we waive something like the assignment, it doesn't mean severability or anything else from the prior page is waived. And my attorney always has, for choice of law, this particular company we're doing this business through is organized in the state of California, so we use that as the venue of law. Now, whenever I do a deal with a company, and they, if they're in California and I'm in Illinois, or they're in Montana, I'm in California, and they want to say the choice of venue is their town, like Montana, I say no. If I sue you, the venue can be Montana. But if you sue me because of this, the venue is going to be in my town. So I make it fair both ways. I don't do it when I'm writing the contract unless they want it, but when I'm getting a contract from someone else, that's a good tip that I got from my attorney. Now, I just want to let you know, I'm reviewing this contract and what I know about these clauses and why they're in here as a unlicensed attorney. So these are just my contracts and what has been explained to me by my attorney. Certainly none of this should be construed as advice. You should always have any legal document that you use reviewed by an attorney. Now, this document has been put together where all I have to do is change the attachments for the most part. I don't need to have that reviewed by an attorney unless I feel like it's unclear. So I definitely recommend for your area to make sure that this, if you use this contract, you want to make sure that it's valid for where you're at in your venue. So that's it. That's the 2 pages of the contract. And then the real meat of it is in the attachments. So if you go back and listen to that advanced recording, you'll hear me list a bunch of stuff that I'd been taking notes on. I knew we wanted a few things from our prior abbreviated call. I didn't have a recording of that to include, but most of it was repeated in the call. But you'll notice I reeled off a bunch of stuff, and I went back and listened to that, and I put together my scope of services based on the call we had. I have those calls transcribed all the time. I have a nice library of transcripts and recordings in case I ever need them for anything. And it turned out once I was talked into doing this, it was great that I had these recordings. So I always just say when I get on a call with a client, I always give them my free conference call HD line, and I just say, that we record these calls for quality control and training, and then I go right into something else. And nobody's ever said no. So here, if you remembered, I mentioned all these things. There's an initial planning session where we get information from the client. There's we're going to create a master USP for them, a whole marketing. Back in the 90s, it was called a master letter. In the 2000s, I think Chet Holmes called it a core story. Abraham called it a value proposition. I call it a master strategic message. It's been called many things, but we put together a PowerPoint presentation, which was really the story of the company, an educational story and marketing and sales story, all rolled into one cohesive presentation. It can then be turned into a webinar. It can also be, we pull information out of there, we make brochures, we can pull information out and create an ebook, which you'll see was one of the things we're doing here. In fact, we're going to hear creation and graphic design of one of the following, either a report or ebook, whatever we want to call it, for a free giveaway. Minimum of 10 pages, up to 40 pages. And it'll include the graphic layout and cover. I'll get that done at Fiverr. We'll advertise for a digital marketing manager. Doesn't cost much. We put a free ad on Craigslist. We send them to a free web page at Weebly, and make them jump through some hoops. And if they do that and they pass, then they get a 15-minute interview. If they pass that, they get a 20-minute one or 30-minute one roughly, and then we do a disc profile. And if they pass all that, we turn them over to the client to say yes or no, and we let the client do all the compensation and stuff. And then we got 3 ads we're going to do: a direct mail flyer, an ad for a home magazine, ad for a newspaper. These will all be the same ad. There'll be different formats slightly, and for different publications. Scripts, these are all just templated. These are going to be a little bit easier because he's already given us all his scripts for his window, so we'll modify some of those for remodeling. The in-home presentation will be the biggest one, and it will come out of the PowerPoint that we create up here, the master strategic message. And so it's really, once that's done, which takes a majority of the time of the first month anyway, 4 to 6 weeks, and then we get that done. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3. It depends on the company and the material. So we make up some. We really kind of make up some money here. You'll see what I mean later on, because this is really just same information, different publications. The scripts are not much modification. I mean, in-home sales, or quite frankly, in-home sales, and we are educating anyway. So mostly we just need to educate on the products and services we're selling. Here's a training DVD. You heard on the, if you listen to the call, they do virtually no training. So we're going to do a training, and we're going to give him a DVD. And I suggest filming on location. Additional travel if needed. Client will reimburse. Professional production crew will not be used unless client requests at their expense. We suggest recording by the staff with the consultant's help, because I've got some equipment that actually goes in a rollerboard suitcase I can take with, or also I can just suggest the equipment they get or rent. And it's really simple stuff. I mean, a digital camera and a wireless microphone that can attach to it. That's all you need. Just good sound quality is the #1 thing to good video. After working in 10 years in TV, that was the #1 thing I learned. good audio to have good video. Let me get rid of some of these marks here. So down here you can see we're developing the WordPress site and initial SEO. I use Endless Rise to do this, an outsourced company. And I'm going to suggest company names, and we're going to go up there and do a 2-day, present all this material from up here, and then do a sales training on the 2nd day. It's a template and a presentation that we do all the time. We'll just customize a little bit with their name, and we can go up. I can do it in my sleep by following the PowerPoint I have. Also, we agree to work with the advocate. They have a local consultant that's kind of the go-between. We agree to work with them as if they were the client. So no big deal there. And that's everything that was in that call. And if we go next, this is attachment B. This is our payment for services. Company names are up there. We got a little bit here. Is the 98.5 is what the contract came out to, and 5,000 for travel. These numbers actually ended up being slightly different than that, but that was roughly the total. And 2 hotel rooms, as my sales trainer goes with. And payment is in 3 payments. And the second one is upon completion of the master strategic message, which really is the core work of everything. So they got to give us this up front. And then when we complete this, we do this. And then we get the 3rd payment before we go, if we're going on site, before we go on site. If we're not going on site, they got to pay the remainder before we give them the masters of any deliverables. We might give PDF format and with draft behind them and stuff like that, but for the most part we don't have any kind of relationship that's contentious like that, so it's no big deal. And we give them wiring instruction, and here's a couple of things. If they would have paid us up front, which for these bigger contracts we don't get that very often unless it's ongoing and we've done them before, contracts with this particular company, but they give 10%, so they would have saved 13 grand or 9,800. But here's something I really like. I've been doing this for a long time. Is before they pay this last payment here, right here, if we've agreed that we're moving on and we're going to continue working together, and they pay us for the next engagement, we work out a discount there, and that just gets the payment going. There's no lag between this payment and the next one, and it keeps the continuity of service going and all that. And that's a good idea. I would say if you learn anything from here, it's that idea. All right, and then here is just SEO stuff, and I will tell you this stuff is just taken right out of Endless Rise, out of their spreadsheets, and we just took it right out of here and we put it right in here, and that was it. And then this happened to just be in the client's words. He's just basically saying, hey, can you make sure you use hot buttons and good sales stuff when you're putting together our scripts? We want to make sure the website, we have ownership, we get all passwords, we have ownership and control of all content. It'll have initial SEO. And then we had them put in, monthly SEO optimization is an add-on. Initial is included. and then SEM, PPC, social media, local, online rep, and all that. All this stuff is add-on packages and would be quoted later at another time. Okay, this is normally we don't have this attachment, but the client wrote it up and said they wanted a little clearer understanding of how we were going to do things. Little 1-minute video that'll go on the web page. I actually have one of those line drawing, hand drawing pieces of software. Just throw the words in there and some images, and it creates the line drawing for you. It's pretty cool. We're going to recommend prospect management. We actually recommended Infusion and then a home remodeling specific one. We'll advise the digital marketing manager on how to create a sales funnel and how to write stuff. And so this is key as well. We like to add this in because once we give this digital marketing manager all the work they got to do, they're really hip on hiring us to continue on a monthly basis to help that person out. We will include the first salesperson, and we'll also we believe in daily training almost, and not quite daily, but a couple times a week and live and role playing. And when we do that, the salespeople realize that they need us. So we do add a few half-day trainings to give them a taste of what we do. We really pump them up and really get them feeling good. So they're also going to the boss and saying, yeah, we need to keep these guys around. This was hiring a salesperson. They actually canceled that out. Identified topic for the ebook. We did that. We have not recommended a call center strategy for them yet. We will do that when they grow bigger, and by then they'll either be gone, they won't be a client, or they'll still be engaging us, and at the right time we will recommend. Like right now we're just recommending someone answer the phones live when when they're busy at their office, and then we'll provide weekly reports, which we have been doing. Okay, that's it. Pretty simple contract. It's actually a 2-page contract with explaining what you're going to do in the attachments. Now I want to just go quickly by the numbers, and I'll show you how I calculated this to be a $103,000 contract. So what we have here is my hourly rate. If you listen to the advanced or in the interview, not in the advanced call, but in the interview, I described how to build out your $1.5 million a year consulting practice, and how to actually put the numbers in there. And to really do it right as a one-man band, you got to bill $1,720 an hour, at least the way I figure it. And if you don't hit these numbers, I mean, what the heck? Let's say it takes you twice as long. You can't get it done in the hours that I have here. What we have here is these are our hours, and this is my rate. This is our total, and this is really vendors over here. So the planning session is going to be an hour. I usually plan it for 45 minutes, and so we've got $1,720 an hour, and there's what it's going to cost for the planning session. The master strategic message, I am going to pay somebody 10 grand to put that together, and the ebook. So, but for me, I'm going to have an hour up front. I'm going to have some checkpoints to review. I'm going to have some cleanup at the end. I'm estimating 5 hours for me to put in on that, and the ebook really. Here is really, I put for the ebook cover is an hour. I'm just going to need some write up, and quite frankly, I might have the writer that does the ebook do this, write up specs for the ebook. But generally, I'll give somebody the ebook and say, I need a title for this. And a lot of times, the writer we've already got a title for it. So we just need them to design the cover. I throw an hour in there. I probably could do a half hour, but some back and forth to make sure the graphics get right. And again, since in this case I'm paying someone to do the master strategic message and the ebook, I may actually have them deal with the designer and tell them I need the cover done as well. And so this 1 hour could end up being 15 minutes for me, and I pick up you pick up a few bucks here, a few bucks there, because you lose a few bucks here, a few bucks there when things take longer. Recruiting. Here's one that I probably underestimated. I probably should have put 5 hours in here, although I have actually produced 2 people. I only need to produce 1, but I have produced 2 people, and I have spent less than 3 hours. So I spent about an hour half hour putting the ad and stuff together, and the website. It's all easy stuff, and I did the 2 interviews, and I did send them to the client. So if the client does pick one of them, then I'll be fine. If they don't approve either of them, I've got to work a little harder to find someone else. But no big deal. I already have a few backups that were on the fence, but these were the 2 best candidates. So I really have some candidates I can offer, but I'd probably advertise for a few more. These 3 ads, they're going to be the same. There's no way it's going to take me 3 hours to do all 3 of them. Flyer, home mag, and newspaper, because they're basically the same ad, different formats. These 2 scripts will easily be done within an hour. I'll be customizing scripts we already have that we use for in-home services. We'll be customizing them with master strategic message information, and including we have all the scripts for the client's current window business. So that'll be pretty easy. This in-home presentation, we do have in-home presentation, sales presentation. We got 7 steps that we do a sales presentation and closing and everything, and we just need the product or service. So we're going to take about 4 hours to customize it. The client's got to provide us with pictures and stuff. So we're going to add 4 hours. This might be an area that maybe could take longer. That might be one that I lose a little bit of money on. Well, I'm not losing money, but losing off my $1,720 an hour rate. The DVD, really, there's not a lot of time needs to be spent on that, because we are doing the 2 days sales training, and it won't take us 4 hours to customize the sales training, because about 95% of it's the same. And then we just customize it with, again, information from the ebook and the USP up here. And so we might make up, if we lose a little bit on this 4 hours, we might make it up here. The website, you can see it actually only, with the outsourcers, it only costs $1,200, so I chose to pay somebody $5,000 to run the whole process and actually manage it. And so I've got 3 hours, maybe an hour up front, hour in the middle, hour at the end. So, and that's a total of $11,000, $12,000, $13,000 billed out for the website, and I think we charged $15,000 for it. So. So there's and then based on what he wanted, we came back off that. So SEO, we pay to have the initial SEO done, and then anything after that's additional for the client. I told him I would suggest names, so I'll spend an hour. I already did spend an hour, actually. There's a website online. I'd have to Google it, but if you Google naming my business or naming a business, there's a bunch of sites come up that help you actually name businesses. You can put words together. They jumble things up, et cetera, et cetera. Then we're going on site, as we mentioned in the contract. First day will be to explain all this stuff that they're getting. Second day will be sales training, and then travel. And there's our roughly our travel expenses. Our regular fees here come out to $82. The vendor fees come out to $20. We charge $103.5. Okay, and that's it. And that's how you. So if it takes me twice as long here to get all this stuff done, then I'm making $860 an hour. 4 times as long, it would be down to what, half that. $430 an hour. So you're in good shape by doing it this way. Now if you feel doing all of this work, now all of this work, by the way, he's going to have to do about 3 to 4 jobs to have this completely paid off. So it's well worth it to him. Would I do this, be able to pull this off with a one-man chiropractor shop? No, couldn't. Wouldn't be able to afford it. More than likely. I do have a couple of friends that are chiropractors that have 6, 7 doctors in their office. They could. But a solo guy, no, he's probably not going to be able to do this. And so I wouldn't be able to make $1,720 an hour on him, but I also wouldn't be taking him for a client. I would be taking him, I'd be taking him for a sub, I'd be taking him for a sub client that I'd outsource him. I may make a small amount of money on it, but not much. But I would be giving him to a consultant that's, okay, billing $50, $80, $100, $200 an hour, because they're not, their books, their time's not full, their calendar's not full. And you don't have to fill your calendar up that much when you do contracts like these. You can do a lot less of them. Getting roughly it's 4 or 5 weeks. One of these payments was 6 weeks apart, and the next one's only 3 weeks. So it's roughly almost a monthly payment. So you'll get about a $30,000 payment a month, but I'd say roughly 4 months, for the 103,000. So let's say it's average of 25,000 a month with some expenses. And so that's the contract, and that's how I figured out the numbers in the contract. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll be joining us on the follow-up webinar if you got that with your program. Thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Hi, this is Jim Fleck. I wanted to put this tutorial together for you for the cash flow forecaster. It's really an unbelievably powerful tool for the client, and it closes clients like just about no other tool. There's two spreadsheets that we use that close clients and one PowerPoint, and these are big time tools. We use these with multi-million dollar companies. We use these with companies that don't have any cash flow and are wondering how they're going to pay us. And when they see this, they'll agree to $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. I've had clients agree to $15,000, $17,000 a week based on what they see in this spreadsheet. Now, I'm also doing a financial assessment, which you're going to see in the video for the invoice creator. So I'm going to see if there, I'm not going to try to bill $15,000 a month or a week even, either one, if I don't think there's potential there. But if there is, and I can grow the business, then I'm comfortable even if the company's strapped, because I'm going to increase their cash flow. So let's go through this. There are extensive instructions here, very detailed. And again, it's tough to learn, I'll admit, but once it's really easy to use, but it's just a lot of little steps is all. And so you'll have this video and you can look over it, a number of times. But let's take a look at the spreadsheet itself and the different components. I'll make it a little bit bigger because we're really a 12-week cash flow, and you see I'm scrolling here, it's all the same just over and over again. So let me make this a little bigger for you. You can see here, this is a fixed line right here, and we scroll, to see the other weeks now. Okay, but what we're going to see here is we got our beginning cash balance. Oops. We've got our beginning cash balance here, and then whatever receivables that we have coming in, which we're going to do down here on another tab. There's actually two of them, and we'll put those in, and then we're going to have another tab here. There's a recurring tab, and we're going to put in our payroll, and any other recurring expenses will show up here. And then what we're going to do for ourselves, by the way, here's the accounts payable tabs, and then what we're going to put in for ourselves is going to go here. All right, and then there's a couple of tabs to just, if you want to need to paste stuff in and play around and move stuff around, because you're going to see that we have to paste stuff in a particular order. All right, so so let's start with this. Let's say we're gonna charge $7,500. Let's say we're going to charge $10,000 a month. It's actually going to be $2,500 a week. Okay, because this is a weekly cash flow. So I'm going to put $2,500 in there in every week. Now you can see already, you can already see what's going on here. You can see that I still don't have any receivables, but I do have a payable now of $2,500. And at the end of the week, it did take the $2,500 out of the $250,000, and then it carries it forward to the next week. Okay, and then it keeps carrying it forward. And you see at the end of 12 weeks, I'm down a few bucks for all the $2,500 I spent. So what we have is we want to put in our accounts receivable. Now what we do is we go to them, and there is instructions over here. You get an export of the information from the client, from their accounting system. And there are some instructions, again, there's some in here that talk about entering accounts receivables for the first time. And it talks about getting their open accounts receivables, and in QuickBooks it's called the Open Invoices report. Modify the report to just use the name, invoice number, invoice date, the type, and the open balances in that order, because when we put them into our spreadsheet, if we paste them into our accounts receivable for cash flow down here, this tab, you can see that we have name, invoice number, invoice date, type, and amount. And that's what we need from the accounting system. So I've already set up a spreadsheet where I've exported from QuickBooks, and you can see there is, just like we said we needed, I've massaged the data so that I've got the name of the account, I've got the invoice number, the invoice date, the type, they're all credit, and the amounts. Okay, so what we then do is we select all this data. Now, by the way, I can't show every accounting system and every way to do this, but you've just got to get this information from the client. I've had clients type it up into a spreadsheet for me, but it's name, invoice number, date, type, and the amount. So we copy it, and then you come over here again. This is the accounts receivables for our cash flow, and we go up to L3. Okay, so now I just want to scroll to my left, and you see this is the prior week, and we're not going to worry about that. We're going to look for this week. You see it says current week right here. All right, so we go into here and we're going to paste, but you want to paste special because we have formulas throughout, and we only want to paste the values, and it puts those values in here. All right, so basically it's now setting these up as receivables in my cash flow spreadsheet. And you notice there's a column over here, and when you paste them in for the first time, it shows that they're all new. Okay, and that's what they are. These are new transactions. Okay, so these are receivables, and that's just our raw data in the AR for cash flow. And then for AP, which is accounts payables for cash flow, it's the same thing. We've got in here we've got the vendor, we got the invoice number, the invoice date, the type, and the amount. Okay, these are the fields that we need to get the data into. And so I've exported my data already. So I've got it from my QuickBooks as vendor, invoice number, date, type, and amount. Now some of these vendors are just checks because they were just checks written. Okay, and but that's okay. It doesn't matter that the true vendor's not in there, because this particular accounts receivable had a lot of check drafts. And so I could go in and put the real vendors in here if I wanted to, but suffice it to say, I've got a check that was written for $278. That's the important thing. It doesn't really matter who it's to. This isn't necessarily have anything to do with who it's written to, but it may at times. So let's just put this data in, and I'll talk about what would matter, how it would matter, whether we have the vendor name or not, instead of just the word check. So we're going to paste the values in again. So it's done the same thing, all right, and it's left all these as new transactions. Okay, so now they're all in here as raw data. That's what these two tabs are. Okay, in the beginning, I would get them mixed up at times, but it's the blue tabs. That's where the raw data is. Now let's look for let's look at the recurring. Okay, so I've already set these fields up: salary, wages. By the way, you can add more fields in here. There's a little filter button here, and you can see that it's saying filter out the 0 fields, and that means fields that don't have anything in them. If I want to show them, I just click that 0, and it's unfiltered, and it's given me a lot more fields to add in. Okay, so that's how you add more data. But then once the data is added, say get rid of my zeroed lines that don't have any stuff in there, and give me a little more compact view. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so let's again, as usual, I've got my data set up ahead of time, but this is sometimes the hardest part here. But I've got the payroll from the client, and I'm going to paste that into here. Paste special, just the values. Now the salaries and wages are bi-weekly. If it was monthly, I would put in monthly, and W for weekly, B for bi-weekly, M for monthly. And the first day of the month is the first one, and then it automatically goes bi-weekly. Okay, so if we look over here now, this isn't the first of the month right here, so there's no payroll, but the first of the month does fall in the week ending 10/4. So you see it put everything there. And then since it's bi-weekly, it goes here, here, and here. So my recurring is set up. All right, now let's say I've got some rent, and I've got some life insurance, I've got some 401k contributions, maybe a couple life insurance policies, a couple different owners, and you can see the dates that they're due and the amounts. Okay, we'll paste them in here. All right, and you often can just look at the person's QuickBooks files and export the QuickBooks file into a spreadsheet, and then you sort it and you look for transactions that are repeated. Then you'll find things that they're paying over and over again. And that can end up here in the recurring. Then you don't have to re-enter them as receivables or payables. What you do have to make sure is that when you're putting your receivables and payables in here, if any of your recurring charges end up in here when you paste in here, you got to make sure you delete them. Otherwise, they'll be counted twice. They'll be counted from the recurring tab and from your actual accounts receivable and accounts payable. All right, so now we've put in all of our recurring charges that we pay every month. We've put in our current receivables that are outstanding and our current payables that are outstanding. Now, this is what our cash flow looks like. It's starting to shift a little bit now. We still don't have any receivables or payables. We've got no receivables and we've got no payables entered as far as the first week, and there was no payroll in the first week. But now in the second week, we do see there's our payroll, and there's our rent, and some of those other recurring charges. We still haven't entered any payables anywhere, so those are all zeros. But so if we just did this and we had no cash flow, and we paid ourselves, you'd see at the end of the first week, we got 103,000 in outflow. That leaves us, of our original 250,000 that we had in the bank, it leaves us with 144,000, and we carry that up here. Okay, if we don't have any receivables and we're just doing our normal recurring charges, no recurring charges here, but there is our payment of 2,500, so it does go down a little bit. But here's where we start really, here we take our next payroll, and now we're all the way down to 59,000. We're good here, but when we go and take that next payroll right here and our recurring charges, and you see here now we go negative. So I got a little message here that says resolve this negative. That's our job as a consultant. So let's say this was the deal. We came into a company, a turnaround, and he's like, we only had one major account and they canceled us. We have no income. And I'd say, all right, well, we probably don't have any bills then because we're not doing any work. So we don't have any, all we have is our payroll and our rent and our life insurance. And all right, well, it's going to cost $2,500. It's $10,000 a month for me. And so let's set this cash flow statement up. And here's what it would look like. So you actually would have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to start making money before this company's out of money. You follow me? So that's just at its base level. Okay, so that's how this that's how this works, and it forecasts ahead. And you can see we just keep going negative because we don't have any income. But now we do know that we had some receivables. So let's go over now. Here's where we're going to, this is a cash flow forecaster, right? This is forecasting our cash flow. So now that we have receivables and payables raw data, let's forecast. Let's say these are when we're actually planning on getting this money in. And if I think these dates are all going to be correct, when we're going to get this money in, these are my receivables, I can just paste them over here. All right, that's what I'm going to get them in. See how it pastes that money over into the correct weeks. Now maybe Mr. Jones vendor. And Mr. Jones vendor's money is due on the 1st, but he calls up and says, hey, I can't pay it until the 8th. Then I change that to the 8th. And you'll see how the $63,000 that he was going to pay me moves over to the next week. Okay, now let's take a look at our cash flow. Hey, where'd our reds go? Okay, all of our reds went away because, let's see where it happened. Right here, we had, in the second week, we had 141,000 in receivables and 74,000 in this week, 25,000 in this week. Okay, so that increased our ending cash balance. But starting in this week, we don't have any receivables, so we got to get some sales going. All right, so that's how we forecast our receivables. So our payables, this is where I was talking about earlier. I actually made a mistake. And let's take these. Now, so we've got a payable of 9/30/14. It's probably going to be due in 30 days, right? Typical invoice. So I'll do that for all of these. All right. Let me pause the video while I do the rest of them. Okay, so now we've got our payables in here, and you see I just basically put them all as 30 days. But let's say, this particular vendor said, it's due on receipt, or it's due in 15 days. So this would be roughly the 24th. Okay, so we come over now to so now we've forecasted when all these are, and see, they come out in where they're going to be paid. Okay, so come out to our cash flow, we see, all right, we're pretty good. We're pretty good for a couple of weeks because we don't have any payables here, but then our payables really start coming in. We got 25,000 right there, and then we got 146,000. So we really start. So we've got until the week of November 1st to figure out how to get some serious cash flow in this business. Okay, so let's say we work with them and they've got to do some layoffs, for instance, because they got too much, they got too much payroll. And so all of this comes down a little bit. I'm not going to do it accurately, but I'm just going to reduce it. And now let's look at our cash flow. Okay, hey, well, now we're only down to $2,000 negative. So we've got basically just added ourselves a week of cash flow, because there were some layoffs needed. I'm not saying that's the first place you go. In fact, when I tell clients, I tell them I'm there to save jobs, not eliminate them. But let's just say that was the deal, and we were able to threaten to leave and go somewhere else, and we were able to lower our rent by $3,000, and our group insurance went down because we negotiated a new policy. These are all things I do, by the way, when I'm on site. I look at everything we spend. Okay, so now look at this. We added a whole nother week on. We've already picked up a week. We've added a week of cash flow already to the business by negotiating some things. We haven't even looked at their marketing or increased sales. And so let's say we start doing that. We put in we look at all their scripts and their sales processes. And for whatever reason, we do some sales training, we do some marketing, but we do expect in week 3 to bring in an extra $20,000 And maybe it's even with some negotiated pricing on stuff that we buy, but it's going to bring in, because it's a standard sale we have every month with a client, and we just negotiate better prices, and it's going to increase by 20 grand starting in that week. And the following week, we will have completed our sales training, and we're expecting a bump in sales, and we expect that it's going to increase, our sales by 5% or 10%, and we think it's going to be an additional $35,000 a week. Okay, so in this week it starts 20, and then the next week we're going to add 35 in our other sales initiative that we're doing. So, but the other 20 goes in there too. So now it's an additional 55,000, because we got to add the 20 to the 35,000. Okay, and then since we've made those increases, they're going to be in every week, right? Because they're not going to go away. We've done some things to improve the business. We come back and look at the cash flow. Hey, look at our negatives. We just got rid of them all. We made some positive changes. We did some changes on costs. So let me show you how I have charged as much as $15,000 a week. Okay. All right. We see even paying me $15,000 a week does not send them negative, so they can afford it now with these changes. And so here is the summary of this close, by the way. So, Mr. Owner, what's the business? By the way, there's other things that we could do. There's a filter here, just like I showed you before, to get more. And so maybe there's a one-time we are going to sell off unneeded inventory. All right, so here it is, 150, and it's just a one-time. So we can get rid of all the extra lines, and so I'm going to save this. And so that's improved our cash flow even further. My goal is so that this continually goes up in a business. And you can see 250 to 235, we went down. 158, we went down. We're telling the client sometimes, look, we've got to get some foundation built, and there's not always, the income's not always coming in right away. But then we go up to 238, 255, we get that inventory sold, and we get up to 420, comes back down because we've got payroll in there, and we must have we paid some bills or something. All right, so at the end we're at 279. We were at 250. At least at the end of my engagement, everything's been put in place. Inventory's gone. I've done a ton of work, and they would actually have more money in the bank than they did when I got there. So let's say this is only a 6-week engagement. See, my goal, Mr. Client, is so that you can afford me for the entire life of your business. And so I know this looks like a lot here, okay? And so I'm pointing out these fields to him. And, I'm telling him, I know this looks like a lot, but here's my goal. My goal, again, is so that you can afford me for the rest of your business life. And I know I'm only here for 6 weeks. All right. So that's these right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, you know what? These here, when I leave, these should go in your pocket. So I'm going to, as you can see, generate enough income so that you can afford $15,000 a week to pay to me. When I leave, what a inefficient and a struggling business does is this money goes away like that. And they let it just plow back into the business. When I'm telling you, Mr. Business Owner, when I walk out the door on the first of the week like you've been paying me, you keep cutting this check and you put it in your account. Okay? Put it in a savings account, investment account, or whatever. I'm only taking the first 6. After that, they're all yours. And I'm telling you, folks, I've had times when we were going negative in the 5th week, and I say, look, we'll make these kind of changes, and I'll move some numbers around. and we will get it done. We go into the AP, accounts payable forecast, and let's say there's a vendor. Here's a vendor that we owe $75,000 to, and let's say we talk to them and we say, look, we cannot pay all of this. So I actually need to do it in my raw data first. Okay, so we set these up, we paste our values, we change this to 25,000, and then we just come down here, change these invoice dates to 12/1, 1/1, and 2/1. Change our amounts to 25,000, and we change our 75,000 up here to 25,000. So we've got to schedule our payment dates within the range of our cash flow statement. So right now, since we only go out to 12/20, if I schedule this for 1/1/14, that's out of the scope of our cash flow forecast right now. So we just leave that blank for now because we haven't paid it yet. Okay, so now let's go to our cash flow, and our cash flow even looks better because we spread out that $75,000, and you see when we dropped off after the 420, our cash flow is still a lot better now. And all I did was negotiate a payment plan. See, this is real consulting, folks. This isn't just about going out and selling offline or online services or SEO or any particular thing. This is going into a business and figuring out, exactly what it is they need. All right. So, you have any questions with this, send them to askjimfleck@gmail.com. It does take some playing around, but when you get the hang of this, this is the first thing we do every Monday morning with a client. And then we leave this with them, and they can we show them how to import their data into here, and then they can look at their cash flow and go, look, we're going to go negative here or there, or this is we don't like to go quite this low. Let's go into that week, see what's due. Okay, and seeing if we can't, some things we pay late. It's a business. It's not like your business FICO score is going to go down because you pay a vendor a week late. All you do is you come in here and say, all right, this $32,000 I was going to pay on 9/30, but and I'm sorry, on 10/30, and you see that it's in this week. There it is. But that's going to put a cash flow strain on that week because I'm already negotiated away 50,000 of the payment I was going to do here, and I moved them into future months. Let me not just call them up, but let's just pay this the following week. All right, let's just pay it. So this is the week ending 11/1. So if I just pay it on 11/2, it actually moves it into the next week. Okay, made my cash flow even better. All right. And that's how we play with our cash flow. And you've heard the statement, cash flow is king. This is one of the most useful tools you could have in a consulting business. So this is a real tool you can use in real businesses, and it will definitely help you close by using the close that I talked about here. And obviously these numbers be whatever the numbers are for you. All right, we'll see you in the other training video.
Welcome everybody, this is Jim Fleck. This is the advanced part of the offline whale hunter. We're going to be going through the transcript of the actual sales call. And if you got the prior offer that had my script with it, you'll see some things you recognize, like in this call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the call, simply go through the process. You can adapt this to whatever type of client you have, whatever things you're selling, you can adapt this script, and you'll see. It's just a questioning process. If you get into the mindset, and it's here in a minute, but that is everything. I do get up out of my chair. I do change my physiology. I do shake myself out. I might go get some ice water. make sure I go to the bathroom. When I'm getting ready to do one of these hour-long calls, because sometimes they go longer, I don't want any distractions, and I want to be in the best state of mind. And you can see there's some pre-called tasks here that are in the original script, and I've pasted them into the transcript here so you can see them. I do go out and review their website and think about it as I'm going through it. I check for them on LinkedIn. I Google their name. I look to see if they've got things they're selling and things you can request from their website, any awards. I just try to find out as much as I can. Then I give them a call. I do the mindset preparation, come from a massive place of authority. I mean, they're wanting to talk to me. I'm telling you, you do this 5 or 10 times and that's it, and you no longer are really worried or nervous about it. I'm not even nervous when I talk to a billion-dollar company anymore, because I realize they're just like me. They're just working in a bigger company. But they oftentimes don't run every aspect of everything in the company. They're just usually, especially if you're talking to the owner, they're just a very good strategist, and they're very good at pulling resources together, and that's how they built this big company. It doesn't mean they know marketing and sales. It doesn't mean they know everything. So, and then what the big important piece is, we're going to build rapport throughout this process. So again, I put in here, it's often best to talk like you're a local police officer, slow, deliberate. Okay, so I'm not usually saying, hey, good morning, I called, is Mike there, or is George there? I'm looking to do a strategy session. Don't do that. It's it's calling for our appointment. As promised, this is our strategy session. I know you talked to my assistant Al. So good morning and all that. I know you're busy. We're both busy. And I'm not going to read all the words in the transcript because you can listen to this. So, but the strategy I take is, I know you're busy, blah, blah, blah. So this is designed to disarm them somewhat, telling them you won't be selling them anything. Yet let them know there's an easy way to do business with you. You've given them permission to ask. So, I say, I'm not going to sell you anything. George, if anything, you're going to ask me to do business. And that's the way I work. See, people get to the end of a sales call and they don't want to just say, yes, I want to buy, because we don't like being sold. We think we're being ripped off. And again, this is built up from other transactions. So, I'm not going to sell you anything. And if that's all right, then we'll just dive in right away. If anything, you're going to ask me to do business, and that's it. And so we've given them permission. We've also given them an instruction on how to handle the end of the call if you want to do business. So, okay, that sounds good. Here you are going to begin asking questions. Now you got to have to remember, you're running this meeting. If you're asking questions, you're in control. When you start getting questions about stuff from the prospective client, you're not controlling the meeting. Unless they're asking about something that you want, you're still not controlling the meeting. This is something that you might even put on a post-it note. If you're asking questions, you're in control. I mean, I would consider putting that on a post-it note. So I start asking them questions. I want to get a lay of the land. Talk about their website, which was horrible. So I kind of set that up. He already knows they need a new one, so that was an easy one. I take a note here. I take a note here, full online workup. So they're going to need website, social, mobile, everything. And then they talked about Great Lakes Windows. And whenever there's a vendor, I want them to talk, because they'll they will talk about how they do business with them, and it'll reveal something about their sales process. It didn't happen here with Great Lakes Windows, but I did get one of his motivations, which was that the window business is changing. Also, they've been in business for 20 years, so I got that. They may be set in their ways. Also, they might be savvy enough to know how to spend money to make money. So we got some of that information. Notice you've done some remodeling and you've done some high-end remodeling. I'm going to suggest that you go after high-end accounts. It makes everything easier. See, I want to truly find out if they wanted to go after high-end accounts, because my best advice is to go after them. There's enough of them in the market that you can just focus there. They've got more money, they complain less, they spend more, and so plus it will indicate that they've got a they know if they're going to go after higher end, their investment, for instance, to hire me or to get the business going is probably going to be higher. And so, getting them to in that mindset, feeling them out, may indicate that they've got more money to invest. At least certainly more than what we call two hammers a guy in a truck, right? That type of contractor. He's going to have a hard time spending a lot of money if he's just working out of his truck, out of his home. All right, so we talked to him that you can always lower the bar. You don't always have to go after the high-end clients. Okay, so actually, we talked about in-home sales guys, and keeping them booked with leads. And so I do say, I was going to talk about that because he says I average 5 active in-home sales guys, and I'm having problems keeping them booked with leads, really. And so some of that is because they don't have enough leads, and some of them they're not good salespeople, and you only give them to the better sales reps. So I do charge $5,000 to $10,000 to recruit a sales rep, depending on what it takes. And it's a very big money maker, and so since I do sales training, it usually helps to one service helps the other, and so I want to plant that seed for later on. And his biggest issue is he's got some pretty good reps, but I haven't done enough volume of interested leads to keep them all happy. So we say we'll do that, and we got a system to keep quality reps coming in. And I planted the seed here about a digital marketing manager. There we go. Someone to send emails, do the social, mobile, Twitter, do all the postings and stuff like that. And so how long have you been in business? 23 years. Okay. Again, I'm always asking questions, keeping control of the conversations. You get a list of questions. It's in your script. You can add to it depending on what business you're in. So we keep going. This is always a great question. What if we were on the golf course or at a clubhouse or at a bar or a family function, and I asked you what business were you in, what would you tell me? So this gets the company's USP. I mean, it's getting at the USP. It's what they should say, but you never do because nobody has one. Which is a real brief headline, of what you do and why, and should cast the widest net. So somebody literally says, "Really, I'd be interested in that," or how do you do that? Or, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more." But usually they start telling you tactics. And in here, George says, "Well, I do light construction and window replacements." I mean, that's primarily what I do. Boring, right? I mean, okay, unless I'm absolutely ready to buy window replacements or some kind of light construction. I mean, I don't know. Is that building? I build dog houses. I build garages. What's light construction? So it really doesn't say anything. Doesn't give me any reason to say, "Oh, really? Cool. I was looking for window replacements," or "I was wondering about window replacements. I'm not ready to buy them now," and he's not giving me any reason to move into his world so that he could move me up what's called the buying ladder, or the sales pyramid or the buying pyramid, into a position where I'm ready to buy. You want to talk about the energy that's lost, and the savings could be made, and the health reasons and whatever. But his is boring, so I wouldn't care about that. And but this is what we always get, which opens them up to giving a better one later on in the talk. And I usually have that prepared before I ever the call, before I ever make the dial. All right, been doing it for 20 years. Tell me more about the products and services you sell. What are you selling now? Predominantly is windows. You said what your average construction would say. Typically it's bathroom and kitchen. So I'm still trying to get at exactly what he does. He does window replacements. We're still trying to figure out, like I said, what all they do. They do some remodeling. Do they do windows? How much remodeling now are they doing? Obviously, we're just a window company at one point. But so that's we're talking about what they do. And then we start transitioning into what they, the financials. So you'll see here. I want to see what they're charging, then what they're making. So then we know what kind of profit they have. And so if we make them extra money, for instance, if they make $3,000 per customer, and we're charging $34.40 per month, then we only need to get them a little over one new customer a month to justify our investment, and that's how I'll help sell this in the future. So that's why you get the numbers and try to get the margins. And we've got, as our average transaction size is 12 to 20,000. So I kind of capped it around 15,000, and we'll see here in a minute about how we factor that in. So I ask about the profits, and I get his formula. If his expenses are 15,000, he doubles it to 30,000. That's what he wants to make. So there's $15,000 in profit there, plus 10% commission on that 15,000, which is 1,500. So that leaves 13,500. But he wants his sales guys starting at 45,000, and then they can discount it all the way down to 30,000. It's also how his commissions are worked. So you get 10% of that. If you double it to 30,000 and you sell it for that 15,000 that is above the cost, you get 10% of that. But anything above that, his good guys make as much as 50% of that, and that's why they're making good money. So one new client in this case is a lot of money, easily enough to pay me. And in fact, this contract ended up being over $100,000, and it only takes maybe, it could possibly take 3 or 4 new clients, high-end clients, not even to recover all this, but in that range. So that's why you have to think about that. $100,000 isn't a lot if it can be paid back with just a couple of clients. So that's the breakdown here. I'm getting to know about his profit, so we know how much, if it's a pizza joint and they make 3 pennies on every $4 pizza, well, and you're charging them thousands of dollars, you got to make a lot of pizzas. So that's why you've got to look for the right client. So again, I'm writing in my notes. You can see I'm writing 30,000 job. He makes roughly 12,000. Actually, it's probably 15,000. The 15K from doubling it to par. You know what? I think I might have missed whether the 3,000 is a commission on the 30 grand or if it's 10% on the extra 15. But either way, that's a small difference. But if he has paid me $3,440 a month, it does just take one new client, and that's it. And it only would take maybe 10 at this range to pay back the 100,000. But remember, that's Windows. Now he may pay us to do all this work and have to keep doing Windows until he gets his money back, because the remodeling is just getting started. But now I have numbers. Now I want to find out about how he markets. So we've got a little bit about his products and services. We know a little bit about what he makes and the profit margins. Now let's see what they're doing now. And he says they're doing a little bit of everything. TV, radio hasn't worked, he talks about. So here I'm building my list of notes of things, marketing he's invested in, what I can improve. He talks about his TV and radio went to an 800 number. He's got canvassing. Here's where he talks about the canvassers, and so I let him explain that. I'm seeding the fact here that that they need to be on the internet. Close to 85% of remodeling jobs begin on the internet. So that means, we got a website coming, SEO, we got social stuff, mobile, the whole, we've got the whole bit. So press releases, again, that goes right in with our internet, because we submit them all online. This is always a good one. Nobody ever does this. And so it's a simple one I always ask about because nobody's ever doing it. So it gets them thinking that they should be doing it, and how do I do that? And he flat out says, I hear about that, and again, I kind of feel stupid because I don't even know how to pick up the phone and set up a press release, or I don't know how to do that. So that's good, by the way. Now here, so you've actually rolled with the changes over the decades, and you do what works. I always acknowledge that they're doing what works. You know, you do what works. I'm always agreeing with them, almost no matter what they say. That helps with the rapport. A lot of people, you know, oh, well, direct mail's dead. You should, oh, you're doing post, you know, whatever, and they make the client wrong. Well, when you make them wrong, you're in an adversarial selling position, and that's not how you want to do it. So I always acknowledge them, and then you know, none of us can do everything, and so that's a statement I use somewhere in the process, sometimes more than once, but let them know that there's lots of things that we can do, and nobody can do them all, and you should be getting help. It's okay. And so we continue on here. I like to quote major publications here. I talk about a Fortune magazine, you know, article. I talk about sending it to them. Okay. Gives me a reason to email him, gives me a reason to keep the conversation going, gives me a reason to call back. Now we start talking about referrals. You know, we always get to referrals at some point. Companies think they're referral based. Okay, they think they're referral based, and then when they are, you ask them about their system, and they don't have one. We just get referrals, and that's always amazing because when you dig in, you see that. You know, they don't have the system in place, and that they are getting referrals because they do good work. So if they actually had a system, that's one of the easiest ways to, when you create this new marketing and this new company form, it's one of the easiest ways to get business is to put it all into a referral system because they're already doing, you know, the right things. So the next thing, here we go. So this was all this stuff I scrolled by. It was all about referral systems. You can read through it and listen, but you know, would you say you've really got it systemized to that level where every client we get 2.5 or 2.3 referrals? Because I know how many referrals we get. I divide it by the clients, and he says, no, that's a great question, because if we did that, because we already get a lot of referrals, if we did that, it would only help. So we just gave him a breakthrough. Okay, we promised he'd get one. So that's actually done. In his mind, we've done it. And we can bring that up later if needed. I don't think we end up needing to. But it also tells me they don't really systemize anything more than likely. And if it was systemized, the extra clients would pay for my service, by the way. So that's another spot to see. You really want to justify that what they're spending in you is an investment. It's not an expense. And I talk about their canvassers. You know, that's a system. The guy's probably got his clipboard, his forms, his coupons, and whatever. And so, so this line of questioning started to emphasize scripting and systems. And I'm seeding the idea of having those systems and scripts, which I'll add in the proposal later. Scripts and referral systems are some of the they really are some of the easiest things to provide any clients because you can reuse them. Sales scripts are easily customizable to a new product or service. And so you can reuse from one industry to another, and it's a great way to make good margins because you can still charge the next person the same amount of money for customizing them or for creating them. Okay, so what I've done here is I'm going to this is a spot. This is about halfway through. I'm going, you know, I've done a bit of talking. You know, some of these things up here, you know, these paragraphs. I like to see a lot of short paragraphs when I go through my transcripts. Okay, but you know, there was some little longer ones, literally like this. When I'm seeing this, that's too much. Okay, I'm really looking a lot more for, you know, these two-liners, these one-liners, and I'm looking for you know, bigger ones by George. And so there's been too little. So what I transition in here is I've done a bit too much talking, as I say, and I want to get back into not only questioning but giving the client directions. So I'm back in charge of the conversation. Okay, I didn't really lose it here, but I do want to get into authority mode. So I'm dishing out instructions and exercises for him to answer as what's coming next. It's a powerful technique. You see it used in seminars sometimes when there's a speaker. You know, he talks for a couple hours and he asks you to buy something. Well, some of the better ones will be asking you to write something down and draw something and things like that because he's giving you instructions, because he's going to give you instructions to buy from him later on when the sales pitch is being given. And so, you know, I ask him to you know, jot down the top 2 or 3 problems. Okay, and so that's what we do here. And then he gives me 3. Now I just got 3 major problems: getting leads, which translates into getting more clients, patients, customers, whatever, which is every single business is number 1, by the way. I mean, almost exclusively. And then overcoming overcoming the image in the industry, the negative image of contractors, and that's done with new marketing and education and showing their awards and things like that. The competition, they got the new low price competition, that's the last one, and that's also done with new marketing and making changes to the way the business is done, which is what they want to do. They're going to want to start renovating instead of just doing windows. It's harder to compete in high-end renovations. And then we get to the point where I've got that information, and now I ask about annual revenues. And some people have problems with this, and you shouldn't. You've got rapport, you're good. Some people, you know, nobody's ever really balked at this, but if they do, that means your rapport is not there. You know, that's kind of private information. Well, they're not into it. You've not listened along the way. You've done too much talking, probably. Your questions, you didn't demand more in the answers. You let them off where they answered 1 or 2 words, so the rapport isn't there. But we're well into this conversation at this point. The rapport is there, and you can see he just says we're doing. We average about $1 million a month in sales, so about $12 million a year. He just flat out tells me I got great rapport, and we want to know this kind of number. So really a number by 10%. What are we talking about? Well, an extra $1 million a year. If the margin, you know, 30%, that's over $300,000. So we have an idea of what kind of worth we've got going into this. Now here's something that's important. He says, you know, I say, you know, so what's been the trend? I mean, how does it compare to the last few years? Because I asked what the annual revenues were, and then what's been the trend right here. And then he says we've grown considerably. And that's in stark contrast to what he had told me. He said they were flat. If anything, they were going down because of the low-price competitors. You'll see every once in a while a company will jump to conclusions, not jump to conclusions, but jump to a response because they want to defend themselves. You know, hey, I'm not, you know, my business isn't completely floundering. And so he says we've grown. And so I kind of challenge them on this. And when you get into a situation where they're defending themselves, you're in an uphill battle. You've lost ground. And some people just will challenge stuff. And so I give them a kind of a graceful way back in here. You know, we talk about giving the industry a bad name, and so all you know, you've grown rapidly, and your guys are doing well, but your growth is slowing down. Okay, so they're still growing as he sees it, but that growth is slowing down. I think what's really happening is the trend is reversing, and you know, because your growth is slower. Because I don't think the growth that you really mentioned early to me, which he said, you know, wasn't very good. You know, it's out of the norm for a high growth company, and he agreed. See, I just kind of brought him back to what he said before, and because what happened was this response up here is we're growing was just a gut reaction. So I had information from our prior call that had to be cut short. So sometimes you won't have that. So you really have to listen to answers and sometimes challenge them gracefully. And if he would have said growing, I would have said, well, you know, you told me about the low price competitors and they're really taking a lot of the leads. And so, you know, I know you're growing because guys are still, you know, going out on calls, but, you know, are we really still in that, you know, that go-go mode where you're just, you know, so many leads, and you know, because he's already said they're have a lead with challenges, and then he's like, yeah, you know, you're right, and so, you know, I got him gracefully back into the fact that his business growth really is going downward, or it's going backward or slowing, and so the next is, this is another magic question. It didn't work to the way I wanted it here, but that's okay. If we turned this around, if you'd streamlined a little bit and we turned this around, just out of curiosity, if we doubled the sales volume are you capable of handling that kind of volume? Now, this question works fantastic on many levels. George's response, again, was yes, and he said it pretty quickly. So I want to be enthusiastic about it like he was, as well as, pointing some things out. Most businesses can't, by the way, take double the business as rapidly. They've got supply chain. A chiropractor might not have enough doctors, for instance. Their supply chain won't handle it. Their customer service won't. So George isn't even doing any high-end renovations right now, so there's really nothing to double. He's thinking in his head, if I double window sales, and he's been doing it for so long, he can probably handle any kind of volume because he knows how to ramp up. He's got to hire more canvassers, more installers, blah, 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 So he feels his guys can handle the work. So I try to probe a little more. But when he continues to say he can ramp up, you'll see I just move on. You don't want to fight a losing battle. You don't want to make the client wrong. That'll kick them into defensive mode. Very important points, everybody. So please make a note of that. That's one of the key points in my consultative sales, is that I don't make them wrong for any reason, even if I see that they're clearly wrong. All right, so this is where I start probing now for the sales team. So I'm moving on. I got their sales numbers back here. I used my magic question about if they can handle doubling. Didn't work great for me, but that's okay. So I just moved on. So I start talking about their sales team, because let's see if their sales team could handle. And quite frankly, the sales team, again, we're high end, and they're not getting enough leads. So right now they can't even double their business because they don't have enough leads for the sales guys to sell. So fact of the matter is, he said he could handle it, but he really can't. So now I'm going to talk about his sales team, see if there's an opportunity for training or for new scripts or for improvements there. And so I have him rate them, and if he says they're, on a scale of 1 to 10, if he says 9 or 10, I'll probe a little more to see where where they can improve. And, maybe a team that good is actually open to training, and that's why they're good. Sometimes they're just good, and that's it. And in this case, and the normal case, the client almost always gives their team low marks or mediocre marks. As you'll see, this feeds into a later question to help position us for the client to hire us. So here it's, he says above a 5, maybe 6 or 7. So I get them talking about things that are wrong with the sales team. And when we say it, it's a statement. When we say something's wrong with it, it's a statement. When they say it, it's fact. So I'll, why would you rate them that way? And he talks about it's hard to find old guys, old school guys that are good, and there's a lot of turnover. So there's a lot of turnover in his business. So we know there's no training here, because there's just not enough time, and the turnover is there. So if there was any of that, they'd be sticking around. How do I rate them on cold calling? This is always a great question, because everybody hates to cold call, except for a really good sales guy. He doesn't care. So I'm piling on specifics now about the sales team, of why they aren't good. That'll show the client there's many little areas they need to be good at. Seeding, I'm seeding the fact that we can teach them the fundamentals, like a baseball hitter's swing. There's lots of little parts to it. So he says, they're no good. They're all prima donnas, so none of them like cold calling. Okay, so they're not good at cold calling. So I put that in my notes. How are they at follow-up? He says they're terrible at follow-up. I put that in my notes. Because all that is a system, a trackable system that produces metrics so you can measure. So we talk about follow-up, being able to give a consistent message, compelling, persuasive presentation of the company. And they can't do it all the time. So check. I put that in my notes. So training is certainly always the answer here. It might be a note that you want to take. So I'm teaching him that he needs to train his salespeople. Of course, we can do it, and that's what I'm seeding. Kind of giving him the possibility there. And so now I'm going to start talking about, now I've talked about his sales team, I'm going to start talking about his client base. So, we talked about a formal process for referrals. You don't have a formal process. So how many clients do you have? Do you even know? So I'm transitioning into trying to get a mix of what that looks like. How many they have, what are they buying, how much, do they contact those clients regularly? And so we know he's been in business for 23 years. He said 16,000 remodels roughly. So that's 700 jobs a year, 57 a month, 14 per week, 2 per workday. I did that math on my note sheet while he's talking. And now this was probably higher in his earlier years when he was killing it. And most of these are probably all windows, not really remodeling. And so I asked him if he knows the 80-20 rule with clients. 20% of your money comes, 80% of your money comes from 20% of your clients. No, he doesn't know that. So he hasn't really targeted. He doesn't know who his best clients are in his database, because then he can go out and look for more of it. And I didn't highlight this, but you know, I'm starting to seeding a little bit about targeting your right market. And so we talk about demographics and the difference there about the marketplace. So he's got no formal process to target and go after their ideal customer. And this is the number one strategy I can recommend a client to boost their business. If we, and that's good because he's not doing it. So if he wants to be high end, well, let's make a high end website. Let's pick high end neighborhoods and let's do direct mail. Let's do canvassing there. Let's do JVs with high end furniture stores, maybe BMW, Mercedes, Bentley dealers, stuff like that. So that's the kind of information we're getting out of him at this point. And now here's kind of where I bring back this is why I have him rate his salespeople. So if we start generating these high-end leads, and if we're going to start with the same sales guys, and we've got things formalized to go out and get the very best recruit and get the very best salespeople, highest quality, a nice system, that's perfect. But if we give our leads to our current guys, didn't you just rate them a 6 or a 7? Okay, so is that going to work? You don't want a guy that's rated a 6 or 7 calling these your very best clients, or your best prospects, and he agrees. So that rating of earlier, that it's a waste of money generating new leads and giving them to salespeople that are a 6 or a 7. So he's buying into this whole thing of getting a better system in place, better salespeople, better training. And I say, now here I say, okay, so I think, and I usually do this about halfway through. It just happens naturally at this point. But so I can think of 2 things I think I'd like you to take away from this, and certainly a strategy that I would want you to use as we begin this remodeling process. As we begin this remodeling process, this remodeling business or division is to identify that demographics, not just high end, but we could go into certain neighborhoods, and we're probably good going into that. So I'm starting to say we, okay? So I'm starting to see the idea that we're going to be working together. Someone calls these language patterns, and I don't, not really embedded commands, but they are language patterns. So now I'm going to start closing. I'm pretty much got a lot of information. He needs us. I think he knows what we can do. I've mentioned enough that needs to be done. His sales reps, he needs better ones. He needs them trained. He needs new marketing. He needs a new complete whole web presence. And plus, this is a brand new business for him. So he really needs everything. Fortunately for us, we don't have to hire a bunch of people because he's got people in place. So this is going to be a lot easier to just generate leads for the most part with good marketing materials and start turning them over. And then he's just got to do the work. So I'm going to start painting a picture of what it could be like. That's what I start doing in the closing process. So I'm still educating him as to what it could be like in my mind. For him to see in his mind. What I'm saying is, in my mind, that's what I'm doing. I'm just painting a picture. I'm still educating him on the possibilities. I'm not trying to close him. That's not the mindset I'm coming from. So targeting the right neighborhoods, have the right material going out to get the clients warmed up, having reps calling with great follow-up, additional material. The client is, then is forming this in their mind about this company of what, what's possible, and it's breaking them down. And as we market to him, just as I'm doing the same thing to him through an email earlier, and then this call, and I sent him some testimonial stuff. So that's the system we're painting the picture for him. We talk about rejections and how you got to have a system so that they can just handle all the rejections. Some of the initial material will wipe out those objections so that they don't even get asked. And now I'm starting to get some yeses here. So we even come all the way back to up here. So a lot of times they don't even keep their appointments when they schedule them. Sure. Then we get phone calls, maybe even a call. It's not like it's a call. They almost feel like they know you. Yes. I get that. Yes, these are all beginnings of trial closes. And so we can, he says, yes, that's where I need the most help, is that I need to increase my lead flow in that direction. He's just said, sell me. He's asked for help right there. So I move in and say, okay, well, we can do that. And the second thing I want you to focus on is writing some kind of guide. So educational marketing. Been doing this since 1996. Been giving away free guides for every kind of business. And so, I talk about Robert Cialdini's book about reciprocity. If you haven't, here's his name right here. Go get the book. It's called Influence, but you really read it. And because that book was really written, for people to be able to combat salespeople. And it turned out to actually be a guidebook for salespeople, which is interesting. Now I'm talking about creating a guide, a free report, a free book. They're never going to create that. So, and they know it at this point. Now they're starting to get a little overwhelmed about, geez, there is a lot to do here. I can't do this all myself, but I want all this great stuff, this picture he painted. And so, they can see targeting the right people, which is the earlier strategy. But now they're seeing they need help when this strategy is presented. We see another yes here. Okay, we're seeing it exactly. So what I've done here is I've continued to paint a picture of how this particular call we're doing is non-threatening. I use my calls as a selling tool, and so I tell them that this was a non-threatening call. We've had an easy conversation. This could be the same way that you sell, and your sales guys, your sales reps can sell. Now I'm also piling on all the things that can be achieved by changing the way you do business. So now we did have, I do want to mention here, we did have a previous call, and it really would have been this one, but an emergency came up. He had to get off the call, and what we'd talked about there was making our marketing materials appeal to a wider audience. So not just going out and saying, hey, are your windows leaking? Are they cracked? Can you look at them and you can't open them? I mean, those are people that need windows. And do you want to save money on your windows? This is going to appeal to people that need windows right now. You need to come up with ideas on, saving money and healthier home, and because there's a certain amount of air you want to leak out because you need air exchanges, and if the home's too tight, it can make you sick. And so what it is you want to cast your marketing materials out on a wider net to bring in a bigger audience. So it's like a fishing net going out and pulling it in, and then you're picking out the good stuff. And so, the bigger your net, the more you're going to get. And so that's the buying pyramid, or the sales channel. And you want to move people from being interested, or not even knowing they're interested, but mildly curious, all the way up to I'm ready to buy right now. So we talked about that on a previous call. I didn't repeat it too much here. And so that's what we really want to do. And so then what happens is right here, I talk to him. I say, that's really what we want to do. We want to be able to cast a wide net, bring them into kind of our world here, and move them up into the top of the pyramid where they buy. And so that's what I'd like to see happen for your business. And then I shut up. I'm actually prepared to wait here and say nothing for as long as I can to get a client to direct me as to which direction. This one happens to go really well. Sometimes they ask another question and we continue the conversation. But here he says, well, Jim, I'll tell you what you're saying is very interesting to me, and I guess what I need to know is what's next. And what's next is what I'm always sometimes we get different phrases, and he actually uses another one. How do we get this boat in the water? And so that's, we've kind of that's a pretty big buying sign right there. It is a buying sign. So, but you get varied responses, and again, they'll say, well, how much is this going to cost me? And reply to that is, that depends. And then I keep the conversation going to figure out what it is they want, and I'll ask them a question before I can, I don't want to give them a price there. So I talk about imagining the impact on your conversion rates if people were saying yes or asking what's next, because he just asked what's next. So I always, whenever I get someone to say, hey, where do we go from here, I always I feed that back to them. Wouldn't that be great on your sales calls if at the end of every one they say, all right, what's next? Instead of, I'll get back to you. I got to talk to my wife. So I say, what would that mean to you? Just like you're asking me now, what's next? I mean, would that be another 20%, even more improvement on what you're doing now in the window business? And I'm looking for a yes. And it's really another trial close here. And he says, yes, that would be dramatic. Absolutely. So that went well. And then I've been taking notes about different things, and there's some things I suggest that maybe we didn't even talk about. But the rest of this, I'm just going to let you read through on your own. But as we go through here, because you'll see when I go through my contract and you see how I price things out, if you got that information, you'll see here there's a planning meeting I suggest. That's going to be priced out. There's an ebook, cover art, there's research that has to be done. There's 2 or 3 things that are going to be on the proposal. There's 1 or 2 new recruits. There's a flyer, newspaper ad, home magazine. There's several different kinds of scripts. There's a presentation book. There are sales training. There's a video training of sales. Then of course the web, and that's a big item. There's press releases, maybe doing their actual tweets and Facebook posts. All those things are in here. And then there's a full day of training. There's actually a rollout of all this material in a sales training, and that's something else. So, and I ask him, you want to, this will get you going in record pace. He say, yep, it sure sounds like it. If you want to move forward, I'll put together the agreement. And he says, I've done a good job. I ask him if there's anything else I've left out. He says, no. I say, well, I'll have it to you in a couple of days. I'll put this up and make sure we've got everything. And what I'll do is I'll put it all in a list. And I'll send him over and see if this all looks good. And if it does, I'll call him up and I'll say, all right, if that looks good, and then I'll discuss the price with him over the phone. If there's any objections to the price, we look at things we can cut out, because I'm not going to lower my price. I'll take things off, and we'll go from there. When we agree, you see, right now he's already agreed, more or less. So we'll agree to the proposal and things that he wants done. He'll agree to that because he wants to see the final price. I'll call him up, negotiate that, and we'll either come to the conclusion that we're going to do business together or not. And then I send over the contract to be signed. And I let them know here, we're ready to move forward. We're an investment that'll break even or make them money, but will never be an expense, because, George, you said, your average one is $30,000 and you're making $12,000. Well, we only cost X amount a month, and that's like 1/3 of a client, new client. If we can get you 1/3 of a new client a month, it pays for us. And so that's pretty good. And that's it. We wrap up the call here. And so that's it. That's the mindset of moving through a sales call. You've got this transcript. You've got the audio. I suggest you listen to it several times, maybe take notes and jot down a structure for your own sales call, your own consultative sales call, but you can fit it into this structure. Thanks for listening. I'm Jim Fleck.
Welcome. This is Jim Fleck. This is the Invoice Creator tool. I'm going to go through this really quick. This one's not quite as complicated as the Cash Flow Forecaster. This is, I just want to say something about Excel in general. You should learn it. If you don't know it, you're at a disadvantage. And you'll see why in a moment, because I keep all kinds of things in Excel. If you look down here at the bottom, I actually keep a fax cover sheet in my Excel, and I keep a little worksheet for keeping track of how many hours I've worked and how many I need to work, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But in essence, this is a way to create invoices at any point in time and to keep track of all your clients. So you see I've got ABC client, I got Acme. It keeps, you see here there's a little note that says don't enter there because it'll do it automatically. If I put A, B, C, D, plumbing, you see it adds it as number 3. So it's my third client. So let's take that back out. So we got Acme Heating. So the first thing I do is I'm just going to tell you, I have to give you some backstory. I've got telemarketers that call businesses and to set appointments for a sales guy. Sales guy goes in, gets them to agree to a 2-day survey, a 2-day business diagnostic. And then we go in and do a 2-day diagnostic and then sell them on either project work, retainer work, or some type of consulting. And so telemarketer makes some calls, keeps some information in our CRM, sends an email. Sales guy goes out, talks to him. We got a form that he fills out, and basically the information gets into here. Okay, the consultant fills this out, and so he's got to, if I'm the consultant and I'm going in on the job to start the job, I got some information from my sales guy. If you're the sales guy too, you get some information from yourself in the beginning. And so I fill in the client, company, address, city, state, zip, fax, email. We've got the analyst, which I have /sales. And the reason I have that is we don't call anybody a sales guy to clients. Okay, we are directors, analysts, always something else. So you see analyst sales. All right, we've got any comments. We've got engagement number. We've got a consulting vice president, a tax vice president, and this is if we're going to do more than just straight consulting. And now what you'll see in here as well, you'll see my consulting hours are going to be 200 hours. It's roughly 2.5 weeks. Really 2 weeks, 50 hours a week. If there's any plus services we've come up with, there's going to be 40 hours of tax work. We've sold them a business valuation for $12,000, a tax strategy plan for $15,000. We're starting on the 22nd. All right. This is the client, and we're starting at 9 a.m. All right. We have an estimated, we got some employees here. Number of employees, estimated sales volume, the NAICS code or SIC code should be in here. Here's our project manager's name, and here's our consultant's name. All right. If we had any more consultants, we would put them in here. We got a key person. All right. In this particular, it's the wife, Rhonda, the wife. If there was anybody else, or maybe an outside advisor, okay, like maybe accountant, we'd put them in there. If we had to use the key person, we'd also use it in there. We keep the hotel information in here, okay? We want to know where we stayed, where we're at, where we have to tell everybody else to come to if we have more than one person on the job. Business description, client's cell phone, and our hourly rate. And in this client, it's $375 an hour. We can pick other hours depending on what we think they can afford and what kind of size client is. But in this case, our first option is usually $375. And that's later on when it's total hours billed. That sets us up. I go up and save it. Okay, so now we've got our business and all of our information in here. Now we got it saved. Now we can go to work if need be. We can then, I've also got information from my sales guy about the client. And so he goes in, first of all, we can see that a lot of this stuff gets plugged in. We didn't enter this. All this was from that prior tab. So it pulls in the company. The yellow fields are generally the ones you enter, except here. We don't enter here. But on the rest, it's usually where you're entering it. So we put in the type of entity. We've got a form that we have. Is it going to be a 2-day or 1-day diagnostic? And we give them something about it. This is to let us know that that was given to them, the literature was given to them, and that it's going to be a 2-day and not a 1-day. We could put in information about their 12-month sales total, 12 months direct costs, and any overhead. And we've got the client information. And basically this then goes on to be just a set of questions that we could get answers to help us with the client. What are their long-term objectives? When and how does the client want to exit the business? The client's desired outcome of this engagement. And we keep going further. And you can see we ask them some questions, scale of 1 to 5. What's the projected dollar benefit from the proposed engagement? That's what we propose. And things like that. Any additional services are going to be required? And what's the client's exit strategy? Okay, so we're just gathering information, keeping it all in a spreadsheet. Let me show you something that's cool. Okay, so this overrides the client number. So this is Acme Heating. If you remember, they were client number 2. But let's say we are working 2 clients at the same time. Now we need to do a little bit of, we need to do another invoice for ABC. We change it to 1. Notice all the business information now changes to ABC. Okay, we go back up here, put it to 2, hit enter, goes right back to Acme. Pretty cool, huh? So it saves our client information. Now the next thing that's cool about this is our invoice worksheet. And there's lots of comments in here. You can always view in Excel, view comments, and there's all the comments that show you how to fill in all these fields. Okay, it's all there. Let's get rid of it though. Basically what we're doing here is entering our daily rate, additional daily costs, such as maybe concession fees, tax rate, any additional tax rates, any one-time charges, like here I'm in Chicago, so such as Chicago O'Hare's one-time $2.75, and then any drop-off charges. You know, you might pick up a car at Chicago's O'Hare, but when you're done with a client, you're flying out of Chicago Midway and you're going to take it off there. So there might be a one-time charge, it might be per mile or whatever. So this is a way to break down the charges. Now you can override any of the charges by filling in the override column. Okay, so this was the project manager, but he's not there. I'm the consultant, Andy, and I'm filling in stuff, and I can fill all that detail in. My accountant might want it, the client might want it, because things can be tracked differently based on you know, the tax rates. But often here's what I end up doing, because not a lot of people ask me for the breakdown. At the end of the week, when I find out that my car charges were $375.85, I just put it in the override, and that's my total car charges. Now, if you are pretty accurate when you tell the rental car company when you're picking up and when you're dropping off, and I usually am, if you're within a couple hours, the rate doesn't change. Usually, if you're within quite a few hours, maybe 3-4, so I can always, I'm almost always accurate when I'm putting in my charges to bill the client. Gasoline, same way. I could say per day, I could say gas to the hotel, gas to the airport, and I can just override it and say I'm going to pay $65. In here, these are my per diem rates for, and these are just set. They're hidden in another part of the spreadsheet. You can just override if you don't want to charge any per diem, you put zeros in here. I always charge a per diem, and I'm typically charging $40 and $65 these days. I just haven't updated. That's usually what I'm charging. Now, why is $40 less? Because I'm traveling on that day. Okay, I'm not there working. So I'm traveling, I probably ate breakfast, maybe even lunch at home, and so it's a less per diem on the travel day. And then the rest of the days are 65s. Here's my hotel rate, and that puts it in here automatically. If you'll notice sometimes when you're staying at a hotel, some nights are a different price, so I update that. It keeps track of my hotel. And then the order invoice date. This is built for Saturday to be the end of the week, and in our current the date that I'm making this today is the 22nd. Let me double check that. Today is the 24th, so 27th is a Saturday. All right, and so it sets it up as, and you see it puts in my dates automatically. Today is a Wednesday, it is the 24th. They put all the rest of the dates in here. And let's delete my hours worked. Here's the key. When I put in my hours that I worked, say 10 hours on Monday, and I worked 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, and 5 on Friday. All right, check out what it's done. First of all, down here I entered my flight in to see the client, and I put in my flight out. These are yellow, right? We enter in yellow. We do not enter here. That's my total rental car that was brought from above down to here, and that's my gas, because this is summarizing pretty much my travel expenses right here. Okay, so it carries, though it knows my inbound flight was here. Well, if I worked here, it assumes I flew in the night before, and so it also assumes that I have the off day per diem. Now these are hours worked, so it puts in the full per diem and it puts in the hotels. It knows I'm leaving on a Friday, so my hotel stops the night before, and it puts in my outbound flight, my rental car, and my gas, because the day I leave is usually when I turn in the rent-a-car and I get the gas in the car. Okay? Pretty cool, huh? So it keeps my expenses, keeps my per diem and my hotel, adds them all up, okay? Puts them over here. Here's it adds up my hours, which is 39. And if you remember, we said we were at $3.75 an hour. 14, carries it over here. There's my total right now. So I can keep this throughout the week, and if anything changes, I just make changes. And if there's more than one consultant, first of all, we put it on the tab over here. We put in Jim Consultant 2. And if we go into our invoice worksheet, you see it's now here all set up for us. And we can start keeping the hours there too, and it'll add it all up. So that's a worksheet during the week. When we are ready to print, we actually pull up our invoice. This is much cleaner. You see it's the same total down here. Okay, keeps everything. We have the client sign it. And then the way I print in Excel, because I'm often on site, although I do travel with a laptop and printer, if I'm on clients and I know they got a printer for me to use, I'll leave my printer at home at times. But an easy way to print is often to just select, then do a file, print, and choose the selected area. Now I'm not teaching you Excel here, I'm just teaching you a few things, and it just prints the stuff I selected. And if I want to open this in PDF view on my Mac, you'll see that it comes up, and I got a nice clean invoice. Boom, print it, get it signed, done. All right. Taxes, some municipalities, we got to charge taxes even for services. Now, here's a statement of current financial position, which really what we call is a financial assessment. Okay. Now, what we're doing here, some of this information is carried over. We don't carry over the consultant's name, because if there's more than one consultant on site, who's doing the financial assessment? We get the net worth, and then we start gathering information. We can just go through here quickly. Line of credit. What's their total? What have they used? What's left? Okay. Credit cards. What have they used? What's left? What's their total accounts receivable? Less than 90 days. There's their current. There's what's 30 days out, and then that's all of it. Do they have inventory? Yes, they got 100,000. 65% of it is in finished goods, 20% is being worked on, and then there's some material and supplies. All right. We've got real estate. If there's any real estate, land and buildings we can put in here. There's a machinery and equipment. Now, you see it's white, which means we don't enter anything. It's because we've given a form down here, and you would enter in the notes, what it is, and then the amount, and then it would add it all up, and it would put it right in here. Okay, we've got total accounts payable. Okay, there's current, that's what's over 30 days out that'll be owed. And do we have any notes payable we could put in there? Do we have any monthly rent? Okay, we're renting our building. Do we have payable? That means there's some accrued taxable. Do we have payroll? That means there's some taxes, sales tax, 941s, federal tax, sales tax, not payroll. But these are all, payroll taxes that we currently owe. Are there any past due? Is there weekly cash receipts? Is there a sales backlog? Is there a weekly payroll? There's the weekly payroll, actually. 45,065 gross. Okay, and how many employees do we have? So we're keeping a good, kind of a good track on what it is they have. Now, we need to see what their average weekly receipts are. So we get their last 12 and we enter them. And let's say it was $10,000 here and $40,000. Oops, 40,000 there and 50,000 this week, or during that deposit. And let's say we had a really good deposit there and 15. So we find out we took their last 12 and it spanned 12 days. Okay, so that was their total deposits, which was 197,000 over 12 days. Divided by 12 shows that my deposits per day are 16,000. Well, if I multiply that by 7, that's what I'm bringing in a week, $114,000. Okay, you think if they're bringing in $114,000, they could afford 10 grand a month, or 5 grand a month, or for that matter, 15,000 bucks a week. Okay, so this comes up with their financial assessment, and there are some ratios. You can look these up. You got them here in the video. It's a little bit too much to cover here, but these are some good ratios that kind of tell us whether there's just exactly what kind of shape the client's in. Okay, so we use this, and now this helps us determine what they can afford. Now, we're not just billing them for as much as we can. We want to provide value, but this gives us an idea of what kind of engagement we have here. And then there's a fact sheet. I can just fill stuff in here, print it. It actually has got some programming put in here. So if I was sending tax forms for accountant, and there was going to be 5 pages, it automatically goes to 1, but let's say there's 5. Okay, up here, it actually puts on the facts page 1 of 6, because the cover page will be 1, and then there's 5 pages. All right, so there's some smart stuff in here. Now let me show you the other thing I have added in here. We said this was a 200-hour engagement, and it was starting on September 22nd. So I'm going to work 8 hours, 9 hours, and then 5 on Friday, because I fly out about 1 o'clock so I can get home for dinner on Fridays. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I pretty much power through my hours, and then back to 5. So I keep doing this, and I can see, and I've got the formulas in here, so you only have to set the first date. If this was 12/1/14, you see all my dates changed. Pretty easy. 9/22/14. Let's go back to that. And so this takes me all the way into October 25th. I've still got 6 hours left. Okay, right here. These are my hours left on the bottom, the hours worked. So I don't want to come back on a Monday and work just 6 hours. So I need to get these 6 hours into the prior week. Now, if there was 12 hours there, I'm working a lot of hours already, so it's going to be hard to squeeze them in. I might go back and work less hours maybe this week, and then come in for maybe a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or something like that. But when I'm this close, 6 hours, I'm going to go in here and add 9 hours. I can do a 10-hour day on Monday. I definitely can do an 11-hour day on Tuesday, and I can do a 11-hour day on Wednesday, and I can do a 12-hour day on Thursday and keep my 5. I don't even have to. That put me a -1, so I only need 11 hours there. Keep my 5 hours on Friday. You see I got no hours on Monday. Now my engagement ends October 22nd. So I can go back here. My estimated close here, 10/22/14. Estimated close date. All right. That's the invoice creator. So it called the invoice creator because of the invoice, but it keeps your invoice worksheet, it keeps an initial assessment about the client, and it does the financial assessment. Got a fax cover sheet in here, and it helps me figure out my hours. Okay, so you got to learn Excel, number 1, and then I keep a copy of this in Dropbox. There's of course copies on my computers, and I always am traveling with a thumb drive as well. So I've always got information, but everything's always saved in Dropbox. If you don't know what that is, just Google Dropbox.com. Thanks, and we'll see you in. Make sure you check out the Cash Flow Forecaster tutorial. It's a little bit more in-depth than this one. Welcome, this is Jim Fleck. In this video session, I should say, it's not really going to be a full training. I'm going to go over what we call the MVP, the Master Value Proposition. Over the years, it's been called, lots of things. Unique Selling Proposition, Core Story, Master Letter. We call it a Master Value Proposition. To us, it's the best description because it is the master value proposition for our company. In other words, what's valuable about our company, what's unique. Okay, and so what we want to do from there is put together a document that we can then pull marketing materials from. The document itself reads almost like a webinar, like webinar slides, or it could be in a Prezo book, a presentation book, like a flip book. Could be given out as a PDF. But in essence, it's a document full of information we can use to sell our company. Things we do, things about the industry to strike up pain or conversation. So what we do here, we're going to show you two different samples. The beauty about this is it begins the marketing. When we're doing marketing, now we do strategy, we focus on operations and finance as well, but when we're looking at marketing and selling products and services, we want an MVP done, and it's it's usually in the $7,500 to $12,500 range as a product service that we offer. We've done these for as high as $25,000, $27,500, actually $27,500. The research that needs to be done for this costs me somewhere around $1,500 to $2,500, somewhere in there. The writing costs me somewhere between $2,500 and $3,500. So I might get $5,000 into this, okay? And then and it's very good writer, very good researchers, and we have a document that we can sell to. That we bill out at $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 in that range or more. And what we do is, of course, we do have step-by-step marketing methodologies we follow. There's almost nothing in my business I do that doesn't follow a checklist. And what we do with this is we give the client a questionnaire, and that's the initial phase. It's gives us information to do research and find further information about the industry, the client's unique selling proposition, and different types of critical information that we can use. Then we take that and we outline it. We storyboard it. You can see we're in a kind of PowerPoint slides here, and we move it around. We have a format we use, and between the writer, myself directing things, and the client, we blueprint their master value proposition. And then we present it to them. We go over it we do that in a single sitting, and then we look at things, we discuss it, and we make some tweaks and come back, and then we kind of train them. And what they get is they get the MVP, which is the document, and they get it in digital, we give it to them in PowerPoint format as well. And then we can use this for all kinds of things. We can use it for scripting, for sales. We can use it for presenting to clients or customers or patients. We can use it in advertising. There's headlines throughout this document. There's one right here you can see, seven secrets to razor sharp vision and healthy eyes. Fear of blindness as we age is an almost universal fear. I mean, there are headlines throughout that could be used in advertising or internet marketing in the sales process. And so that's kind of what this is. When we start out, we congratulate them on making their decision to invest in the MVP. And we talked to them about they are going to be working with a highly skilled team of individuals that are committed, writers, researchers, and that we really need some information to understand their company and their target audience, the vital parts of their business, and we've got a set of questions for them. And so we'll send that to them, and we'll ask them for copies of their logo, clean copies, any photos of their team, their products and services, any mission statements they might have. If they'd like to include any testimonials or success stories or case studies, and what their typical offers are, call to actions, and if they want to scan or even mail in or give us, if it's live, we can pick stuff up, mail it in, any types of material that they use, and the company contact information that they normally use. And then we ask them to give us all that, and then we give them a questionnaire to fill out. Get some business particulars, of course, the details about where they're at and the address and phone and all that stuff. But it also asks them questions. What's the greatest motivation for you investing in the master value proposition? We'd like to know what they want out of this, right? We ask them to describe their core business. And is it local, national, global? And if it's not, do they want to be? And what their annual gross revenues are, how many locations, employees, the types of employees they have, how many are management, how many might be sales or marketing or manufacturing. Do your skills currently match your goals? Okay, what do you do well now? What don't you do well? Where do you need improvement? What are your biggest challenges? So we get into their marketing as well. Do you use brochures and direct mail and public relations? How do you currently track your marketing? I don't have the questionnaire in front of me, so I'm just trying to come up with some of the what's your ideal client? Who's your current customers and clients? What's your ideal one? Who's your competition? What advantage do they have? And then, we really want them to define their ultimate goals with their MVP. And so what would you like it to do to help your marketing, to help your sales? And then we talk more about their target market and their buying criteria. Why isn't your market currently using your target, your services and products? In other words, you're too expensive, or they're working with another company. Why would they be interested in using you? And that way you get some of the unique qualities. What's the main message? What's the backbone of your company's story that you want to share? And what's the one thing you'd want them to come away with at the end of this MVP? And then we ask them for some exciting information from their company. What really gets their audience interested in us? Trends and statistics. Giving us some ideas on doing research. And we ask them for publications and websites. Do they have any memberships to any associations that we can log into? And, we go through getting pain points and why they're the logical choice for a client, and any final thoughts. So believe it or not, the questionnaire gives us, you probably wouldn't believe it, it's not surprising, but the questionnaire gives us a lot of the material to go on. And then I go through it with them in a meeting. I go through the questionnaire and I try to get a real understanding of their business. That's the fun part. And so we really learn their business. And as you can see here, let's look at a format here. 7 Secrets to Razor Sharp Vision, sponsored by, and then you'd have their company. In other words, they're sponsoring this almost like a research report. And then what they're going to learn, how to avoid developing the number one underlying systemic cause of blindness, how to prevent serious eye complication, what are the 3 best foods you should eat today, what are early warning signs of eye disease, how to prevent development of cataracts, which are the best vitamins. All good stuff if you're interested in this stuff. okay, if you're interested in razor sharp vision. So fear of blindness as we age is an almost universal fear. Which one of the 5 senses would I least like to lose? You likely answered my eyesight. Well, eyesight is critical, so critical to our everyday existence that we often take it for granted. By the way, this was a quote that I found in an article. Loved it. And that's why we moved it up front. Bad things happen to good people. A person goes blind every 5 seconds, according to the American Academy of Ophthalmology. Some grim statistics. Over 1 million age 40-plus Americans are blind from eye disease. 45 million people are blind worldwide. You can see these stats came from, they came from somewhere. And so we quote the source. It gives the document and the material credibility. There's a key phrase here: if nothing's done, 100 million people will lose their sight unnecessarily. Something needs to be done. What can be done? 7 secrets to uncover and provide 7 easy things. 7 things that can greatly reduce your chances. There's no guarantees. No more than I can guarantee putting your seatbelt on will keep you from serious injury in a car accident. However, doesn't it make sense? Putting buckling up. So a real good comparison of what doesn't it make sense to take care of your vision. So eye vitamins. So what we're doing here we're really putting in the pain. Okay, these are things. You really, you know what? If you're someone that offers eye care, you want to scare people about what's going to happen if they don't take care of their vision. Okay, so you want them. And then we give them some criteria, okay? I was looking for something, sorry for scrolling back and forth, but we start giving them criteria. Number 1 is make sure you're examined, okay? Have a physical examination as well, and there's criteria in there. Having the checkup, and what should happen in the checkup for diabetes, hypertension, HIV, muscular sclerosis. These all can be detected in an eye exam, so you want to make sure you're finding out about them. Diabetes, so there's just a bunch of 25 times more likely to lose vision someone that has diabetes. So we know we should eat better. We should, a healthy diet rich in antioxidants. Obesity is also affecting our kids. So no smoking, that increases risk. So again, exercise regularly. 1 in every 10 adults feels they're in fair to poor health. Protect your eyes from injury, and number 7, protect your eyes from UV. So the summary so far: regular eye exams, regular physical, eat right, quit smoking, exercise, protect your eyes from injury, protect your eyes from UV. So where do you start? Go to an eye exam. Now we give some information between optometrists and ophthalmologists and opticians, and which one you should choose and where do you start. And they're making a case for optometrists. And then what's done during a comprehensive eye exam. So educating the customer, the prospect, on what tests should be done and how they should be done in summary. So have your eyes and the eyes of those in your family checked yearly. It's the best thing you can do to maintain vision and health. Eat good stuff. Okay. And a word from our sponsor. And here you have a tiny section about, XYZ eye care. It's not overpowering. It's not salesy. You just educated. You're setting up reciprocity, right? They're going to do something back for us now. We want what's best for your eyes, helping you see better longer. So where can I find the best possible eye care? Well, we got a little pitch for the doctors, a little bit about them, someone you can trust, keeping you informed, looking out for you. 10 things to consider when choosing an eye care. Okay, so we want to start saying, setting up what they should be looking for. 10 expert tips to protect your eyesight, and then schedule your appointment. Okay, this is a pretty good document. This one went for $12,500. Now I can go out to other eye doctors, and I won't, optometrists. Now I wouldn't do it in the same marketplace, but I license this in another marketplace for maybe $5,000 up front and $500 a month, and they get to continue to use this material, or more, $1,000 a month. Now if we add the scripts and the ads and stuff that go with it, now one of the things we're doing in creating a network of consultants is if you're in Baltimore and you develop one of these, we're going to have an online portal for licensing. You can put it up for licensing, and we'll set the agreements, and someone in San Francisco can take that material and license it to a local optometrist there and do the work, and you as the original creator will get paid. Okay, here's one for a remodeler. Okay, the Elite Guide to Achieving Health, Wealth, and Happiness while adding elegant living and value to your home. So we were able to wind in getting wealthy and healthy and happy into remodeling your home. And same thing, opening up, out with the old and in with the new. Okay, about our home renovations and reasons to renovate your home, benefits of renovating your home, what are common home. This doesn't come out as we're selling you right away. It's like an educational presentation. What are common home remodeling mistakes and how can they be avoided? Who to consider hiring for your renovation. Know who your contractor is. Know who your contractor is. Beware of fraudulent contractors. We really set this up. 10 tips for successful renovation. We really set this up so that they need to look for the right contractor. Beware of fraudulent contractors. Statistics show 96% of contractors are mom and pop operations. 50% are out of business within 1 year. 1/3 of jobs are left unfinished and your money is lost. You see, this company that we did this for, they've been in business for 50 years. So they had a lot going for them. The remodeling part of their business was brand new, but we were going to use that length of time in business and have it carry over. So then some tips. Plan early. Find a good match. Be wise and informed. This was a draft. That's why the formatting is not great on this. Get first-hand information. Explore all your options. Prevent unwanted stress. Be firm. Double check. Take advantage. So there's things they should be looking for in a contractor. And of course, in a home remodel, and of course, we do them all, so we're going to be able to fit them all. And then we've got Master Your Makeover Style. We gave different types of renovations. We had these mock-ups drawn up for, like the Rosedale Classic was rendered for us. I don't know, maybe I think all of these were rendered. And so we have a style to our remodeling. That was kind of one of our things. You see the beautiful kitchens. This is high-end remodeling, folks, as you can see. And so kitchen makeovers, we're going to take advantage of the whole makeover craze. Home is where the heart is. It's where we put down our roots. It's the ultimate exhilaration of body and soul. People live in houses, and when they transcend into homes, they envelop our personality. So we did a lot of house-to-home type of notes in here. First impression lasts a lifetime, so you got to have a good entrance to your home. Got to have a good kitchen where everybody hangs out when you have a party. How can you increase the value? We gave them some real information on what really does increase the value and what doesn't. Reasons to build green. Okay, new homes have become really expensive. This was in Canada, so 13% HST tax applicable to all new homes. High development charges. Price of a new home, GTA. There was more levies and charges. It was just you could have $100,000 in commissions, moving costs, taxes, and legal fees just for $1 million home. And it's a mature city. Not a lot of new land available, and so remodeling is really the way to go in this particular area. And so same thing. What you don't know could be making you sick. Enter the design builder, also known as the master builder. Master builder, actually, you can tell a story because that goes back, I don't know, 100 years or 200 years. It goes back a long ways to where the master builder, could be 1,000 years for all I know, but it went back in history. 10 reasons to hire a professional. They're there from start to finish. Experience, advice, technical know-how, accurate pricing, written contract, liability insurance, warranty, customer service. So how to ensure your job gets done right the first time?
Well, we've got a document here that says protect yourself, ask your contractor for these 22 compliance items. And we give them that document if they want to shop around. We have a worker conduct agreement that they've got to pass. We have bank letters showing our financial stability and how long we've been in business. We've got our business license. Pretty cool stuff, huh? And you can do this same format over and over again. And then there's a bit of a story. And our leading residential renovation company, our mission statement, our code of ethics. What do we offer clients? We got a good neighbor policy. We bring a dumpster for the neighbors to actually come and use. We clean up every day, and we've got an on-time guarantee, or we send you to the Bahamas or something like that. I don't remember what our, here it is, our on-time guarantee. Yeah, we formalize it in a commitment, and if we're not able to meet this deadline, the clients receive a week in the Caribbean for 2. Pretty powerful, huh? Confident. And then we got some testimonials. Once the renovation is complete, we'll host an elegant tea party with some of your closest family and friends with fine china, quality linens, freshly brewed teas, scones, and trays full of sweets that will create the perfect atmosphere to show off your fab. You know, how easy is this, folks, for a business to innovate this way, add a little bit of cost to their job to cover this stuff and do it, and it makes them unique. Okay, there's our design team, our reputation in the industry, got all these logos, magazines they've been in, and if you want an average, boring, and ordinary renovation under $75,000 that looks like your neighbors, we recommend you call another company. Really good takeaway. If you want a drop-dead gorgeous, high-end luxury makeover that'll transform your drab home into a fab home you can be proud of, and your family and friends will rave about, then So-and-So Custom Renovations is the contractor for you. Schedule your design consultation, and that's it. And so these are MVPs. I just wanted to give you some work product to show you that there's things you can do that are repeatable. Now this, when we're done with this, by the way, so they give you 12 grand. Let's say it cost you 5. You made 7 grand. When they're done with this, the question is, now what do I do? And we say, well, let's start creating your marketing. Let's start creating your sales. Let's train your sales force. Well, the sales force needs to be versed in the 10 reasons to hire a professional. They need to be versed in the healthy home stuff. They need to be versed in our reasons to build green. So now we've got training material for our sales staff. You know, we could be making a brochure out of this, some of this stuff. Some of this stuff, these pictures could turn into a TV spot. Easily could be turned into brochures. Okay, they could be turned into videos for the website. Okay, that's how this works. So thanks for watching. Please, 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 if you're watching at this point, you've clearly went through a lot of material. And you clearly are either a consultant or you want to be. Don't go away without sending questions to askjimfleck@gmail.com. I want you to stick this out. I want you to be successful. And I can help you in many, many areas of this business. So please stick with it. And if you get stuck, email a question. Please be patient. I answer them all. I also go on site and I turn around businesses. So if I'm on a client site from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you know, I head out to dinner, I head back to the hotel, I fire up the laptop and I look at questions. Not every night. Some nights I'm wiped. And next week I'll be speaking at a conference. Some of you will probably be there. So good luck, and let's get in a network together.